Dragon Warrior is one of the most influential video games ever made, not just among games for the NES, but for any system. While it may seem simple or archaic compared to modern role-playing games, the basic gameplay here features a surprising amount of depth and is actually quite addictive. The game was developed by Chunsoft and published by Enix, a company that would become well known for RPGs. In the beginning, however, Enix was a Japanese company called Eidansha Systems, and they focused on real estate trading, not video games. The real estate thing wasn't working out, so in 1982 they decided to jump into the video game business and held a contest to find new games to publish. The runner-up was programmer Koichi Nakamura, who had submitted his game Door, and the winner was Yuji Horii, who created a game called Love Match Tennis. Horii was just an amateur who had been writing video game-related articles for Japanese manga magazine Shonen Jump. He had no expectations of winning the contest, but entered after being encouraged by his editor. Horii really enjoyed RPGs, but in the early 80s there weren't very many of them, and the ones that did exist, like Wizardry or Ultima, were very complex and difficult for many players of the time to get into. In modern times, tons of video games feature RPG elements like leveling up and increasing stats, but before Dragon Warrior, this was very uncommon. Many players in North America or Europe had experience with tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, but those weren't as popular in Horii's home country of Japan. The Japanese version of the NES, the Famicom, had become wildly successful, and Horii wanted to create an RPG that could be appreciated by a wider audience. He knew that he would need to simplify the interface so that it could be played with a game controller instead of a keyboard, and the game would need to be more visual and less text-heavy. With Horii leading gameplay design and Nakamura as lead programmer, the team just needed a music composer and an art designer. The composer was Koichi Sugiyama, who would compose music for all of the Dragon Warrior games. He was already famous in Japan for work in television and movies, and had contacted Enix because he was a big fan of a PC game they made. To design the characters and enemies, they hired manga artist Akira Toriyama, the famous creator of the Dragon Ball series. His cute chibi-style characters give the game a very distinctive look, and is easily one of the most memorable aspects of the series. Hiring Toriyama to work on a game featuring dragons and a quest to find a lost ball of light seems like a slam dunk, and it's hard to say if the series would have been anywhere near as successful without his input. The game was released in Japan in 1986, and it was titled Dragon Quest, not Dragon Warrior. Enix changed the name for the English language release to avoid infringing on a trademark held by a pen and paper RPG game of the same name. Dragon Quest was wildly successful in Japan, where it sold over 2 million copies on the Famicom alone, and then was ported to numerous other systems. In the following years, the series quickly spawned 3 sequels that were all well received. Nintendo wanted to bring Dragon Quest to the North American audience, and spent several years developing the English language version. The translation is of excellent quality, featuring a flavorful Old English style that is leaps and bounds ahead of the typical translations of the time. They also upgraded the graphics and included a battery-backed save feature instead of the passwords required in the Japanese original. Sadly, the game didn't sell well when it released in North America in 1989. It retailed for $50, which was quite high for the time, and that factor alone probably prevented a lot of purchases. With a ton of leftover stock, Nintendo decided to do something extreme. They gave the game away for free to subscribers of Nintendo Power magazine. Considering the magazine subscription only cost $20, it was a great deal, and gained Nintendo Power 500,000 new subscribers. This promotion got the game into hands of many people who would have never tried it, and single-handedly led to the success of the series in North America. Not only would the series have 3 sequels on the NES, but it's still going strong today with new entries on modern platforms. They eventually dropped the Dragon Warrior name, and now use the original Dragon Quest title. Modern critics still appreciate this game that created the blueprint for so many other console RPGs. When IGN released their list of the top 100 NES games of all time, they ranked Dragon Warrior at number 8. If you want to play Dragon Warrior on a modern platform, it is available as a digital download for the Nintendo Switch under the Dragon Quest title. This version of the game features upgraded graphics and some tweaks to the gameplay, but the core of the game is the same. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges the NES is notorious for. The world is wide open, but if you wander too far from the castle, you'll run into enemies that can quickly annihilate you. The dungeons are confusing labyrinths with limited visibility, and many of the game's puzzles are quite cryptic. But what if I told you how to get the best stats simply by entering specific names at the beginning of the game? What if I told you about a secret trick to get unlimited money so you can buy all of the best equipment early? And what if I told you the best strategies for beating all of the game's most difficult enemies and bosses? Even the Dragonlord himself? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Let's get started. Alright, Dragon Warrior. Before we get started, we have to talk about choosing a name. If you've already started a new game and named your character, you may have already messed up. While the starting stats for your character and the bonuses you gain when leveling up seem random, that's just an illusion. Your character's 4 base stats are completely determined by the name you enter right here at the beginning of the game. The difference between entering a good name and a bad name can be quite significant and will force you to build up to higher levels to get the same power level as a character with a better name. Only the first 4 letters that you enter matter, and there are 16 possible stat builds. While some of them are just bad, it is debatable which is the best. It all depends on which stats you think are the most important. Hit points, also referred to as health or HP, is pretty self-explanatory. If you run out of these, you die, so having more is obviously good. Magic points or MP is also obvious. You'll need these to pay for spells. Of the two, I think magic points are actually a bit more important because your healing magic will actually give you a lot more health. Being able to heal more times is much more impactful than having a higher max HP. Strength is used to calculate how much damage you deal in combat. That sounds important, and it is, but I think it's actually the lowest priority stat. More important than how much damage you deal is how many turns it takes to kill a monster. That sounds like the same thing, but the subtle difference is like, does it take 3 turns or 4 turns? For most of the game, it takes quite a bit of strength to actually reduce the number of attacks you need to make to kill the monsters, so I find that defense is more important. Agility is the most important stat. It determines your base defense, which combined with your armor and your shield, will reduce the amount of damage you take from enemy attacks. The difference of a few points of damage could easily be life or death, and if the enemies are hitting for just a few points of damage each time, you'll feel unstoppable. But that's not all it does. Agility is used to calculate your success at running away from monsters, which can really bail you out of a bad situation. Higher agility will also make it less likely for an enemy to surprise you and get the first attack in combat, which is definitely a big deal. There are millions of possible names that will work, but for the purposes of this video, longtime fans of the channel know that the dog's name is Kylo with a capital K, and that name will give us excellent base stats and will prioritize growth in agility and MP, so that's perfect for this run. If you choose a different name, you may find yourself underpowered when compared to what you see in the video, and may need to build additional levels to get the same results. The world of Alefgard is in big trouble, you guys. The Dragonlord sits in his dark castle where he commands armies of dragons, and King Lorik here doesn't even control one dragon. Without the Ball of Light, a long winter is coming. Monsters ravage the countryside, and just to rub salt in the wound, they kidnapped Princess Gwaelin. We told him we were a descendant of the legendary warrior Erdrick, and this guy is so desperate he doesn't ask for any proof. He throws money our way and hopes that maybe, just maybe, we can do something. Make sure to use the take command on all 3 treasure chests. Once we leave this room, we will not be able to get those again. Use the stairs command when you're standing on the steps, and that will take us out of the main throne room and into Castle Tantigle. Here we can talk to the people, but a lot of the castle is actually cut off to us right now because we don't have any more of those magic keys, and it'll be a moment until we can find some more. For now, let's head over to the neighboring town of Brecconary. In Brecconary, we'll take the 120 gold pieces we got from the king, and we'll have to make some decisions. I recommend that we buy the club, and then we just hold out and try to get 10 more gold pieces so that we can buy the leather armor. You could buy the clothes and have a small bit of armor, but I recommend just going naked and risking it. Out here around the castle, we'll need to face some enemies, and the different terrain types that you see will actually determine how often you get an enemy encounter in this game. Now, the area near the castle actually has 4 times fewer encounters, but you'll notice that by walking on hills or deserts, we can hit the most enemies, and we'll hit enemies least frequently whenever we're crossing bridges or walking over the light green grass areas. So if you're trying to avoid encounters, you want to walk on the grass, and if you're trying to take encounters so that you can level up, then you should walk on the hills or the deserts. So now it's time to go out there and club some baby slimes. There's only 2 different types. The blue slimes are weaker, and we should see those more frequently, but only slightly more frequently. They appear 60% of the time, and the red slimes appear 40% of the time, so you very well could see more red slimes. That's just how the random numbers can work in this game. But the red ones are stronger. They have 7 strength, where the blue slimes only have 5, and while they're both only worth 1 experience point, we need to get to 8 here to get to level 2. The red slimes will give us 2 gold pieces, while the blue ones will only give us 1. And this is getting a bit dicey here. We don't want to die before we get enough money to buy the leather armor. We need 70 gold for that. And this is very close. We're at 1 hit point. Alright, we did it. If we face any more enemies here, we need to run. We only have 1 hit point left. So run. Alright, we got away. And we made it to town. If you die in this game, the only penalty is you lose half of your gold pieces. We definitely don't want to lose half of our gold pieces here at the beginning of the game. If we were to die before we could buy the leather armor here, we should just reset and start over. We haven't really gotten that far. Now, it costs 6 gold pieces to stay at the inn in Breckenary, but death is free. So we'll just try to fight this red slime, and whenever we die, you'll notice that we don't actually lose anything. We had 0 gold, and half of 0 is 0, so don't fear the Reaper. If you have very little gold pieces, you can just die and you'll actually come back with full health. Not only that, we didn't lose any experience points, and we didn't lose any of the equipment that we bought. If you die in Final Fantasy or another game like that, I hope that you saved recently because that's what you're going back to. Not here in Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior is a bit more friendly. Now that we have full health, the leather armor, and the club, we just need to get to 8 experience points by defeating slimes, and then we will get level 2. We're very weak right now, but you'll see that we will gain power very quickly by leveling up, and the only way to level up is to defeat enemies. Right now, all the other enemies in the game are extremely dangerous, so we need to get to level 2 simply by fighting these slimes, and we can do it right here in the hills by Breckenary. It won't take very long. We only need to defeat 8 enemies. I mean, it's not that tough. Just use the fight command. If you do get low at this point, if you have 6 or more gold, it might still be okay to just die. But once you get to 12 or 13, then it becomes worthwhile to use the inn at Breckenary because we do want to save up our gold pieces so that we can get some better equipment. Now that we have level 2, let's take a look at our status. We have attack power 9 and defense power 7, so we should be much stronger against these enemies now. With level 2, the slimes don't stand much of a chance, but if you do get down to such low health that the screen becomes red, that probably is a good time to go to Breckenary and use the inn to refill yourself. We need 23 experience points to get level 3, and that's a good bit, so we are going to speed this up here. But these enemies should not pose much of a threat at this point in the game. Just keep fighting them, and if you do get low, use the inn. So we're speeding this up. Just fight the slimes. Fight the slimes, and you can see now that we got to low health. The screen is red, so that's an indicator that our health is low. And it's okay to maybe take one more battle at this point, but if you have 4 or fewer health, now is the time to use the inn. At this point in the game, we have 24 gold pieces, so if we were to die, we would lose 12 of them. And I do recommend that if we did die, we don't reset or anything. It's better to just gain the experience points and lose the 12 gold. 12 gold in the grand scheme of things isn't that much money. But the experience points will help us fight the enemies more effectively. You just want to keep as many of those as possible. So if you die, most of the time, unless you were carrying a ton of gold and had saved recently, most of the time you should just take the death and lose the money. Here at level 3, we gain possibly the most important spell in the game, Heal. Once you have Heal, we don't need to use the inn in Breckenary anymore, because here in Untitled Castle, there is a guy who will refill our magic points for free just by talking to him. So we talk to him, we get full magic points, we use our heal spell, we fill up to full health, then we talk to him again, and we have full magic points. He's like a free inn. Being able to use a free inn is nice, and this is something that we'll do frequently for the rest of the game, but it can't be understated how important it is that we can heal ourselves now. Being able to heal using magic will allow us to go farther from the castle, and right now we can attempt to fight some more difficult enemies when we're trying to level up for level 4. So we're not going to fight just slimes anymore. We can go to a different spot and grind against some different enemies. We save the game here just in case we die, but if you need to heal yourself, it's free. Just cast the magic and go back to the castle. No big deal. Before we move on, we are going to stop over here in the town of Breckenary. With 20 gold, there is an upgrade that we can purchase at this point in the game that is very inexpensive. It's called the Dragon Scale. The Dragon Scale is like an extra piece of armor that you can equip by choosing it from your item menu. It does take up one of your 10 item slots, and if you buy extra Dragon Scales, you can only equip one of them, but +2 defense is awesome. That's just as good as the clothes armor that we skipped, and this is something that we can use for the rest of the game. It will be in addition to any armor and any shield that we add on. So you definitely want to grab the Dragon Scale as early as you possibly can. Out here, we want to go to a different area now where we can fight some more advanced enemies, and that area is directly north of the town of Breckenary, but you'll see that there are some gray mountains up there. You cannot walk on gray mountains. Those are simply barriers. You can't pass them. So you need to go around those. And up here, we encounter a ghost. A ghost is the most dangerous of the 4 possible enemies that we can encounter up here, but it is the most common. You'll see the ghost 40% of the time, while the other enemies will only appear 20% of the time. None of the enemies that you can face up here use any kind of magic yet, so you should be fairly safe. The ghost has strength of 11, so it can hit you a little bit harder than some of the other enemies, but as long as you make sure to heal whenever you have 5 or fewer health, you should be in good shape. Now, if you start out a battle with a ghost and you get damaged very quickly, you may want to run away. You don't really want to use your heal spell when you're in a battle. You want to use your heal spell between battles out in the field. Using heal when you're in a battle, it doesn't actually give you back very much health. You may need to heal yourself multiple times to get back to full health, and the enemies will probably be able to take that much damage off in just 2 more attacks. So your best bet is to just make sure that you go into every battle with a high amount of HP. If you do that, you'll be fine. If you notice that you don't have a lot of HP left and you're running low on magic points, just head back to the castle. It's not very far away. All you need to do is go and talk to the guy and he'll refill your magic points. So this is how we're going to get to level 4. We're going to fight the enemies up north above the town of Breckenary, and whenever we get low on magic points, we're going to come down here and talk to this guy to refill them. This way we'll also be able to build up our gold, which we will need to buy some better equipment. At this point in the game, we don't want to fight the magician enemies, so we don't want to stray too far from this area. The magicians have a very high agility, so whenever we attack them, we won't deal hardly any damage. We'll be lucky to deal 1, and they have a good bit of HP, so they actually use the spell of hurt against us. A few spells of hurt will definitely mess us up. Once we get to level 4 though, which is what happens when you reach 47 experience points, so that's the number you're looking for, we will get the spell of Hurt ourselves. The Hurt spell requires 2 magic points to use, and right now at level 4 we just don't have a ton of magic points. We probably want to use most of our magic for restoring our health for using the heal magic. We could theoretically fight enemies like magicians or scorpions or some of the more difficult enemies, the magidrakes in this area, but we would need to be using the hurt magic on them almost every round. And with only 17 magic points, we could only do it 8 times right now. We're going to save the game here. If you're feeling confident, you could go and try to fight some more advanced enemies and try using the hurt magic, but I think the better way to do it would be to just play it safe and fight the same enemies that we used to get from level 3 to 4 to get from level 4 to 5. Don't actually use the hurt magic, we don't need it for anything against those simple enemies. Just fight them with your weapon and save your magic points to heal yourself so that you can stay out longer and you'll be a bit more efficient in that way. You'll start to notice here at level 4 that the ghosts just don't deal you as much damage as they used to, and the slimes can barely damage you at all. They will typically only deal 1 damage, and we have a good bit of hit points now, so 1 damage is nothing. Do your best whenever you get low on magic points, make your way back to the castle, talk to the guy, and heal up. And whenever you have at least 90 gold pieces, we can get our next piece of equipment. We don't have a shield yet, and with 90 gold we can buy the small shield, which may be called the leather shield in some other version of the game. It will add 4 to our defense, and adds on top of our armor and also on top of the dragon scale, so now we have a defensive power of 15. Not bad. We'll need 800 gold pieces before we can get a better shield, so we'll probably be using that small shield for a minute. Once we gain 110 experience points, we will reach level 5. Now that we have level 5, we can take a short break from grinding levels and go on an adventure out in the world. Let's go back to the castle first and make sure that we're at full health and full magic points, and we can also save our game, but we're going to head to Erdrick's cave. Make your way up north. If you stay on the grass, we can avoid encounters, but there's going to be a deserted area up here, and in the desert there are frequent encounters, and we may fight a magician. If you see a magician, make sure to use hurt magic against him. He has agility of 12, so you'll notice that your attack does not deal a lot of damage. So you need to make sure to use at least 1 hurt, and then you can try to finish him off with your attacks. Once you get inside the cave, use your torch so that you can see. The torch will be consumed when you use it, but it will definitely last until you leave the dungeon, unlike the radiant spell, which we will get later, which actually can wear off and you won't be able to see anything unless you cast it again. Erdrick's cave is completely optional, and there aren't any monsters in here. The only thing that there is this Erdrick's tablet, which you don't need to find to be able to beat the game. It just gives you some information about what we need to do, and it gives you an idea of what the dungeons are going to be like in this game, so that it's not super jarring the first time you go into one. Once you have Erdrick's tablet, we don't have the outside spell yet, so you'll need to walk all the way back out and head back to the castle where we can refill our magic and heal ourselves up. Now that we're back from our little adventure, the next thing that we need to do is build up 180 gold pieces so that we can buy the next weapon, the copper sword. We also need 220 experience points to get to the next level, so we want to get those too, and the best place for us to do that is going to be over here, where we can fight magicians, scorpions, magidrakes, and ghosts. So that spot is over here to the left. Right now we're fighting some red slimes, which are just kind of an annoyance at this point in the game. So make your way down here, and this is the area that we're looking for, and if we go across the bridge, there will be some hills, and we know that the hills give us a higher encounter rate. Since we're trying to get encounters, we can fight a lot of them here. So there's a Magidrake. Those guys are tough. We need to use our hurt magic on it. It's going to try to cast hurt on us. We need to watch out and make sure that we always keep our hit points high between battles. The Scorpion has a lot of agility, but the hurt magic doesn't care about agility at all. We can just keep hitting it with some hurt magics, and we'll be able to get 6 experience points. I like to do 2 hurt magics, and then try to finish it off by fighting. The Magician, we know what to do with him. We use hurt magic on him, and then we try to finish him off with fighting, although occasionally the hurt magic might be enough to take him out in one shot. Magidrakes are definitely the most powerful enemy in this set, although the Scorpions are worth more experience points. These guys are more dangerous because they can use hurt magic, and hurt magic ignores your defenses and will always deal a decent amount of damage. Whenever you see a ghost, you can just beat those up, no big deal. And remember, we're trying to get to 180 gold. If you ever get low on magic points, if you have, say, 5 or fewer, that's when you need to start heading back to the castle so that you can refill those magic points and make sure to keep your health points high. You don't want to get killed as you exit the area. If you can't cast hurt magic, you're going to have a lot of trouble defeating the magicians, the magidrakes, or the scorpions, so you'll probably just need to run if you run out of magic. In any case, we need to build up 180 gold or 220 experience. Until we do that, this is the best area to grind for levels and money. We definitely don't want to die, so don't risk it. Walk back to the castle. If you can keep your HP high between battles, you won't even think about using the heal spell during a fight. If you really do need to heal yourself while you're fighting an enemy, I recommend using a medical herb instead of heal. That's basically what one loop of this level grind looks like. So once we heal up and get out of the castle here, I am going to speed this up, but you get the idea of what you need to do. Just go over to that area where the hills are, fight the advanced enemies there, use your hurt magic whenever you need to. You'll probably need it for defeating the magidrakes, the magicians, and the scorpions. Try to keep your health high, and walk back to the castle anytime that you notice your magic points have dropped below 6 magic. You need to use that magic to defeat the enemies and to keep your health points high, so it's critical. Once you have 180 gold, stop over in Breckenary, and it's time to buy the copper sword. The copper sword adds 10 to our attack, which is more than double what the club adds. It's a huge upgrade. The store owner will ask if you want to sell the club back to him. You have to say yes. You don't actually get a choice in this matter. If you say no, he just won't do the transaction. So we can see now what our copper sword does to these magicians. It definitely hits them a good bit harder than we were hitting with the club, but we still need to use one hurt at least to beat them. Alright, and once you have 220 experience points, you will go up to level 6. At level 6, we don't learn any new magic spells, but we do get some better stats which will help us level up faster, but level 7 is going to make a bigger difference. We will need 450 experience points to get to level 7, and we are going to need 300 gold to buy the next equipment upgrade, so that's certainly going to happen first. Whenever you have 300 gold, this time we're not going to go to Breckenary to buy the item. They don't sell it there. We need to go to a new city, the city of Garinham. Garinham is located in the upper left corner of the map, and the enemies up there are not actually as difficult as the ones that we were fighting for our level grind, so it should not be very difficult to get up there. There's a nice open grass path you can take, so just follow that along. Head up through those hills, and you have arrived in Garinham. Garinham is a unique city that we will return to several times during the game, but for now, we need to buy the chainmail. The chainmail is much more powerful than our leather armor, and just like the upgrade to the copper sword, it is more than twice as effective. Over here, if we need to, we can stay at the inn. The inn costs 25 gold in this town, so it's kind of steep compared to the 6 that we would pay in Breckenary, but we're also pretty far from the castle here, so if you want to refill your health, that may be your best bet. Now that we have the chainmail equipped, we can go back to our level grind loop and see how effective we are against the enemies. It's going to be a lot harder for enemies like this ghost to damage us, although some of the enemies like the magician or the Magidrake are going to use hurt magic, and so armor doesn't actually matter for that, but you can see if they attack you, it hardly does any damage at all, 1 or 2 hit points. They have a 50% chance of attacking instead of using hurt magic. So if we get a little bit lucky, those enemies can be very easy to defeat now. At level 7, we will get some new magic, and we need that magic spell to be able to fight some of the more advanced enemies in the game. So that's the next thing that we need to do here. But you'll see now that we have level 6, the copper sword, and the chainmail, we can hang pretty well with these enemies. These bad guys will not mess with us very much at all. What once was difficult is now easy. Take down as many enemies as you can, and work your way up the experience that you need until you get to level 7. If you need to heal yourself and you're out of magic points, just head back to the castle and talk to the guy who refills your magic. And once we gain 450 experience points, we will finally reach level 7. Alright, we've done it. We've gained level 7, and we don't have to do this particular level grind ever again. At level 7, we get some nice stat increases like 6 to our agility, but the important thing is that we get the sleep magic. Sleep magic, some enemies have resistances to it, so we can't use it on everyone, but what it does is it will give us a free turn in combat, so the enemy won't be able to dodge, you'll definitely hit if you attack, and if you need to run away, the enemy won't be able to block you from running. Then after that, the enemy will have a 33% chance of waking up. If they do wake up, they'll get their turn as normal, but if they don't wake up, we'll get another free turn. After that, they'll have another 33% chance, and so on until they wake up. So if we get 2 or more turns out of the sleep magic, it is extremely useful. And that's how we're going to defeat the skeletons that we're going to fight up ahead here. There are some enemies that will use sleep magic against you, and whenever that happens, you actually have a 50-50 chance of waking up each turn, and you'll never stay asleep for more than 6 turns, but if you're asleep for 6 turns, there's a very good chance that you'll be dead, and you should probably just run away whenever you wake up from that. Head over to the right here, and we're going to cross this bridge. This is an area that we haven't actually been to yet. Head over across the bridge. Over here, the enemies are not very difficult, just the same old ghosts and magicians and stuff that we've fought so far. You'll notice at this point in the game that the enemies start to run away from us. Yeah, you better run, slime. We can easily take out slimes in a single slash now, so yeah, they probably should run away. Over across the bridge here though, that's where we might encounter some new enemies. But before that, another red slime wants to get in our way, so, well, it's your fault, slime. Down here, there's some Magidrakes. We fought those before, but the new enemy in this area is the skeleton. The skeleton doesn't have any resistance to the sleep magic that we just got, so if we do meet up with a skeleton, we want to use that sleep spell on it. Whenever we walk on one of these swamp tiles, we'll take damage, so make sure to use your heal magic if you get low, and pay attention to your hit points. In here, we'll enter the swamp cave, and we'll use a torch so that we can see, and you'll notice from the graphics on the side that there is a new possible enemy that we could fight here, the Druin. We may or may not encounter a Druin, but we just want to head down whenever you get inside. This is a long and tall cave, and basically all you need to do is go all the way to the bottom and then just go right a little bit and down and back to the left, and you'll find your way out. This is actually where the princess was taken, but we don't want to head over there right now. First of all, we need a key to be able to save the princess, and we don't have any. And there's also a boss, the green dragon, that is guarding her. So whenever you get down here, just head to the right a little bit, down and back to the left. And this is the area that will take us to the town of Rimulder. We can't actually get any farther in the game until we can get some keys, and we have to go to the town of Rimulder to be able to buy them. There are some very dangerous enemies in this area, so if you encounter a wolf, a warlock, or a metal scorpion, run away. That's your best bet. If you do encounter a skeleton though, you can try to use that sleep magic, so just use sleep, and only fight the skeleton while it's asleep, unless you know that you can defeat it with just one more attack. The skeleton has a good bit of hit points, between 23 to 30, so it'll take several attacks, but as long as it stays asleep for a while, you should be able to beat it. And here it is. We've made it to the town of Rimulder. This guy Orwick has been waiting for his girlfriend since the 1980s. She's not coming, dude. Move on with your life. If you come around this outside path though, you'll find the secret store, and this is where we can buy those magic keys. They cost 53, which is the lowest amount of gold that they will cost anywhere else, and this is the only town where you can buy them without already having a magic key. So to reach any of the other key vendors, you have to go through a key door first. And to go through the key doors, you can either use a magic key from your inventory, or you can simply use the door command. And if we talk to this guy, this is Howard, and he tells us a clue that 4 steps south of the bath in coal, we can find a secret. Well, we know that Howard Phillips from Nintendo actually helped out with the translation here, so I suspect that was him putting himself in the game, and that's actually a very important clue. This woman in the Japanese version sells Puff Puff, but here in the American version, she has no tomatoes. No tomatoes today. We can use the wings that we found to return to the castle, but if we've spent most of our money, there's an even better way that we can get back to the castle. We can just die. Head outside and just fight the more difficult enemies here. It doesn't matter too much if we die. We're actually about to do a very interesting trick that will get us as much gold as we want, so losing some money for dying here is not actually that big of a deal. And that's it. Thou art dead. We returned to the castle with full health, and the only thing we lost was a little bit of gold. Yeah, we lost 37 gold pieces. No big deal, but we still have all the magic keys that we bought. We still have all the experience points that we've earned. And now that we have those keys, we can use them to get infinite money. So how are we going to get infinite money, you may ask? Well, we need to go on a little adventure, and to do so, we are going to have to go into one of those dark dungeons. So before we go, let's stop in the town of Breckenary and make sure that we have a torch. If you already have a torch, no big deal, you don't have to go here and do this, but make sure that you bring at least one torch with you. We don't want to be left in the dark. Once we get out of Breckenary, the way that we need to go to the mountain cave is to head towards the area where we were leveling up before. So you know the way to go. Head above those hills and then cut on down to the bridge. And once we get over to this area, we're going to continue to head south instead of just staying here and fighting the enemies. We can take out any enemies that we do meet along the way. We certainly need to build up to level 8 eventually. But in the meantime, we can notice how much stronger we are than we used to be. The ghost here can only deal us 1 or 2 damage. It's being annoying and it's dodging, and ghosts will dodge 6% of the time. But it can't really hurt us very much, so we aren't afraid of any ghost. Another Magidrakey. This one hit us pretty hard with some hurt magic, but there's not much it can do. These enemies just aren't in the same class as us anymore. Once you come down here, you want to head to the right, but you don't want to cross that swamp, it'll do you damage. And over here, the enemies are actually a bit easier. You could end up running into slimes. Yep. Head on inside and use your torch. This is the mountain cave. We may encounter a druid in here. We didn't end up fighting one before. Just a scorpion though. Take out this guy, just simply fight him. In here, our only goal is to get 2 treasure chests. We don't need any more than that, and then we can just die. It's not even that big of a deal. Head over and then head down at that intersection and over to the left. Use the stairs, and when we go down the stairs, the enemies here are a bit more powerful, so if you end up fighting some of these guys, you should probably run away. Over here we'll find a torch, and in this treasure chest we'll find an interesting item, the Fighter's Ring. You can equip it, but it doesn't seem to actually do anything in combat. It certainly doesn't raise any of our stats, and I never noticed it doing anything special. It may actually do something in the later versions of the game, so if you're not playing this on the NES, you may want the Fighter's Ring, but I think it's totally safe to just sell it for 15 gold. It does take up a space in your inventory, and it does not seem to have any special effects. This Drakema enemy is quite dangerous. Now that we've found 2 treasure chests in the mountain cave, the next thing that we need to do is die, but we can try to grab as much experience points as we can in the meantime. We just won't use any healing magic between fights. We killed that Drakema, and now we're fighting this Droll, and it looks like he's going to get us. But that's okay, because that's actually what we wanted to do. So to recap, you need to find 2 treasures. Any 2 treasures will do, but those 2 next to each other, the torch and the Fighter's Ring, that's a very easy set of chests to arrive at. And you need to have 1 key, because whenever we revive, you're going to go over here and open this door. And whenever we take these chests, the last one just won't go away, and we'll be able to keep taking it. And we'll gain a random amount of money each time. It's a small amount of money, usually 6 on the low end and maybe 13 on the high end. But by using this trick, we can amass a ton of gold. The amount of gold I recommend getting here is around 5,100, although if you really want some premium equipment, you can get 9,715, and that's gonna buy probably the best stuff you can get right now. But this trick is kind of time consuming, and after you get the 5,100 gold, you probably won't want to keep going for another 5,000. But if you do, I'm going to show you what you can do. And if you don't want to use this trick at all, I will show you a different thing that you can do as well. This will save you a little bit of time, but more than time, it reduces risk. So you'll be able to get the best equipment, and then you'll be able to fight higher level monsters than you normally would be able to at this point in the game. So that's going to allow you to level up faster. The difference if you don't use the trick, you'll have to fight more monsters to get the money you need to buy the equipment that you want. But that's okay, because you'll also be gaining experience points at the same time, so it's not a total waste of time. The first thing I'm going to show you is what to do if you do get the 5,100 gold and use the trick the normal way. So if you use the money trick, you get 5,100 gold. The first place that you want to go is the town of Garin, and over there we're going to buy a very nice upgrade for our shield, the large shield. There's only one better shield in the entire game, and we won't be able to get it until we can get to the town of Cantlin, and we won't be able to do that for a while. That's guarded by a boss, and we'll need to go through some very dangerous enemies to get there. So the large shield is going to provide a lot of extra defense for a good portion of the game here. Once you've purchased the large shield though, the next item that we're going to buy is in a totally new town that we haven't visited yet, the town of Cole. So make your way over down to the right and go across this bridge. Normally we would go across this bridge to go to that swamp cave, which would take us to the city of Remulder. But instead of going down into the cave this time, after we cross that bridge, we're going to head north, and there's a whole town up there. Take out any enemies that you fight on your way. Make sure that you save after you get the 5,100 gold, just in case you die. You don't want to lose half of that, so you can just reset if you don't have all the equipment that you wanted to buy. But you're going to go here north of that swamp cave, and in the middle of these trees, that's the town of Cole. We'll take out this Magidrakey. Get out of here, Magidrakey. And hopefully we can get in there. Alright. In this town, we'll be able to buy full plate armor. You could also buy half plate armor here, but I don't actually recommend getting the half plate. It only gives you 6 more than the previous armor that we had, so it makes sense to just kind of hold out for the full plate. It's a lot better. Once you have the full plate armor and way better defense, there's another key item we can get here. This woman tells us that this bath cures rheumatism, and Howard in the town of Remulder said to search 4 steps south of the bath in Cole, and when we do, we'll find the fairy flute. We will need the fairy flute to defeat the boss that's blocking the town of Cantlin, but once we have it, we're going to head back to the town of Remulder, where we can buy the last piece of equipment on our shopping spree. Be careful as you cross the swamp, make sure to use heal if you need it, and when you emerge on the other side, head on down to the town of Remulder, where we will be able to buy the broadsword. The broadsword deals twice as much damage as the previous weapon we had, the copper sword, so this is going to make us so much more effective in combat now. You can actually start leveling up with the enemies right outside of Remulder. You should be powerful enough with all this new equipment we got. Now, before we go and start our level grind in that little desert strip right outside of town, there is a guy here that has an important clue. He tells us that Erdrick created a rainbow in the western part of this island, and also that there's a secret entrance behind the throne of the Dragonlord. We'll need both of those pieces of information later, so thanks, guy. Now, if we went ahead and got 9,715 gold or more from the money trick, the first thing that we should do is go and get that large shield in the town of Garin. But that's the only thing that's going to be the same this time. We can skip over Cole almost entirely, although you do want to make sure that you pick up the fairy flute at some point. Instead, we're going to head to the town of Remulder, and we're going to buy 2 pieces of equipment here. The first of those 2 pieces of equipment is the broadsword, which you've seen before, but the other one is the magic armor, which is quite awesome if you want to take the time to get the money. You'll notice that it has the exact same defense value as the full plate, so the only advantage that the magic armor actually has is that it reduces the enemy's hurt or hurt more magic by 33%. It also will give you back 1 hit point for every 4 steps you walk, which is pretty nice to have, but if we just mostly avoid dangerous magic enemies, we won't really need the magic armor. So it's your choice. If you want to take the time to get it, you can get the magic armor. It is a little bit better, but we can definitely get away with only using the full plate armor. And if you'd like to see what the magic armor can do, here is a fight with the warlock, who often uses the hurt spell. And you'll notice here that, yeah, we only took 2 damage from the hurt spell there. Pretty nice. So that is a major benefit, but it is very time consuming to get the money you need to buy this armor. And whenever we get the very best armor, you won't even get half of that money back because we don't buy it at a store. So nobody's going to offer us any money whenever we pick up the best set of armor. We just lose whatever previous armor we had. If you were opposed to using that money-making glitch, then after you buy a bunch of keys, use the wings to fly back to the castle. We can restore our health and magic points here for free, and then we'll just have to earn the money we need for equipment the old-fashioned way, by killing people. So I think the best place in the game right now to earn money and experience points is over near the town of Cole. We're going to speed this up, but that's where we're going. Make your way up, stay on the grassy path to avoid as many encounters as possible. Take that first bridge, head across and down. And down at the bottom here, we're going to cross another bridge, and we're going to head north, and that will take us near the town of Cole. Most of the area around here will feature these 4 enemies, the Magician, the Ghost, the Scorpion, and the Magidraki. But there's a small area all the way on the left up here, so go into the hills and head over on the left side. I'm not exactly sure where the line is, but somewhere over here, you'll start being able to actually hit skeletons in addition to those other 4 enemies. The skeletons are a little bit more powerful, and because we didn't do the money-making trick, we only have the copper sword, but we still have the spell of sleep, and that is our ace in the hole here. So whenever we see the skeletons, we're going to use sleep, and then we're going to be able to reap the benefits though, because they give 22 to 29 gold pieces, as well as 11 experience points. This Magician here only gives 4 experience points, and the Magidraki only gives 5, so the skeleton gives way more experience, and a lot more money as well. We need to get 560 gold, so that we can purchase the hand axe, and here's that skeleton, so we're going to use sleep. And you always get at least 1 free turn, and then we hope that the skeleton doesn't wake up, and he didn't, so that's good. If he does wake up, just use the sleep spell again. You don't get a lot of value out of it unless the skeleton stays asleep for at least 1 round, but sometimes he stays asleep for a lot of rounds, and then we can just finish him off with 1 more attack. Very good. And so we got 28 gold and 11 experience points. And whenever you have enough money, we can come right over here into the town of Cole and purchase the hand axe for 560 gold. The hand axe gives us plus 15 attack, and it doesn't cost a ton of money, and that's 5 more than the copper sword. So we'll be dealing an additional 50% damage with this new weapon. Pretty cool. The hand axe will make this level grind go a little bit faster, but we're still going to be fighting the same enemies, so you want to head all the way over on the left and fight that enemy set that includes the skeletons. We don't want to lose our money, we still need to buy those other pieces of equipment. We want to get the large shield, which costs 800 gold, and we also need to get the full plate armor, which costs 3,000 gold. So don't hesitate to go over to the city of Cole and use the inn. Using the inn is going to be way cheaper than dying. We need to focus on that in addition to trying to get the 800 points that we need so that we can go up to level 8. That's kind of an easy one to remember. 800 experience to get to level 8. And we should be able to get it after we defeat this skeleton. Remember, against the skeletons, we're going to use the sleep spell. So we'll use it here again. They have no resistance to it. And we'll get a free attack. The skeleton is still asleep. And it's just that simple. Level 8 will make us a good bit more powerful, but we won't get any new magic spells yet, so we need to keep working until we're level 9 and we have enough money to buy the equipment we need. It will take a while, but once you have 800 gold, we need to head back to the city of Garin. That is where we can buy the large shield. They don't sell it here in the town of Cole. So when you have the money, make your way back over to the upper left corner of the map. Carefully take out any enemies that you see, You definitely don't want to lose half of your money when you have enough to buy this shield. And here it is. Over here at the equipment vendor, we'll spend the 800 gold pieces. And remember, the large shield actually is more than twice as good as the small shield, so it's going to make a huge impact on our defense. We're going to take a lot less damage in combat now. Once we have those pieces of equipment, we can start fighting the enemies near Remulder Town. They are a bit more difficult, but they're going to be worth more experience points and more gold. And this town sells the equipment that we need. On this sandy strip in front of the town of Remulder is where we will do our next level grind. There are only 4 different enemies here. The Metal Scorpion has very high agility and high strength, so you'll notice that you can't deal a lot of damage to it when you attack, but it also doesn't have a lot of HP, so it doesn't matter that much. If you get into trouble against this guy, he has no resistance to the sleep spell, so you can throw that out there and put him down for a round or 2. We'll still be fighting skeletons, and you can still use sleep against them if you want to. You probably won't need to use it as many times in combat as you would have had to before, since we should be able to defeat the skeletons in just a few rounds now. Of the monsters that you have to fight, the Warlock is the most dangerous. He can use the sleep spell, which can take you out for several rounds of combat, and then he can use hurt magic, which will deal you a ton of damage regardless of what equipment you have. That guy is very dangerous, and you are really supposed to have the StopSpell magic whenever you fight Warlocks, but we don't have it yet. You won't get it until level 10, and we're actually not even level 9 yet, but we will be very soon. You only need 1300 experience points, and fighting the enemies in front of Remulder will get you there very fast. We do gain a new spell for making it to level 9, the spell of Radiant, but that one really won't help us very much with this level grinding. It just replaces torches whenever we go into a dungeon, although it will allow us to see a much wider area around us, which is nice. Continue to gain levels around Remulder. If you fight wolves, you want to use the spell of sleep against them. Wolves are very powerful, and they do have a small 6% resistance to sleep, but most of the time your sleep spell is going to work, so you want to keep these guys sleeping, attack them as many times as you can, and that way you will avoid taking a ton of damage. Whenever you hit 2,000 experience points, you'll gain level 10, and level 10 comes with it the spell of StopSpell. StopSpell is very useful in a tactical sense against many of the enemies in the game, especially ones that heal themselves with the Healmore spell. Here we see a Warlock, and StopSpell was practically made for this guy. Sometimes the Warlock will resist it, so just cast it again, but it doesn't have a very high resistance to StopSpell, and you'll notice that the enemies will just keep trying to cast their magic, even though they can't, so you'll get a whole bunch of free turns in combat. Yeah, you cast that hurt spell, Warlock. Whenever you have 3,000 gold pieces, enter the town of Remulder and immediately buy the full plate armor. Once you have the full plate, we will be able to fight some more difficult enemies, so we can actually move down and fight something a little bit more challenging, but you don't want to attempt these other enemies until you have this better armor. With experience level 10 and a full plate armor, it's time to head to the area south of Remulder, where we can fight some different enemies. On the way there though, we may still meet some of the ones we were fighting before. The skeleton, metal scorpion, wolf, and warlock will certainly be there on the way to this area, but we're trying to make our way down to a certain strip of hills. So head down, and it's the one that juts all the way out there. That's the strip that you want to get onto, where you may meet a gold man. The gold man can hit pretty hard, but we should have enough hit points and defense at this point to be able to survive. Whenever you defeat the gold man, you won't get a lot of experience points, you only get 6, but we'll get a ton of money, between 150 and 199 gold. The easiest enemy that we have to fight here are wolf lords. Wolf lords will try to use StopSpell on you, and you don't really need to cast any magic to beat wolf lords, so anytime they use StopSpell, it's like you get a free turn in combat. Yeah, they're actually pretty easy. Wraiths, on the other hand, are quite difficult. The sleep spell is a decent way to deal with them, although they have a 44% resistance to it. However, whenever you're fighting them, they'll try to heal themselves when their HP is low, so it is worth trying to put them to sleep sometimes, as it can be kind of awkward to try to fight them when they're healing themselves. Over here, we'll fight another one of those wolf lords, and you can see how easy it is to beat them whenever they use StopSpell. Yeah, use StopSpell. We don't care. We're only going to heal ourselves when we're outside of battle, or by using medicinal herbs. Hopefully we'll fight a lot of wolf lords. They are the more common enemy of these 4, but you'll like to get a gold man here and there so that we can pick up some more cash. We only need 1500 gold to get the broadsword, and once we have it, we should head back up to Remulder, and we will be all caught up to anyone that used that money trick, although we will have gained several additional levels. Not bad. Dealing 50% more damage than the hand axe that we had before will certainly make this level grind go a bit faster, so we'll be happy to have the broadsword, although we need to save up 9,800 gold to be able to get the next weapon upgrade. In the meantime though, we only need 2,900 experience points to get level 11, so if we fight enemies down here in this level grinding spot, we should have no problem getting that level. I want to make it clear that you can fight enemies slightly more south of this area, but this little strip of hills is the northernmost spot closest to the city of Remulder where you can actually level up, so whenever you need to go back to town, you won't have to walk as far if you're leveling up right here. Once you have level 11, well, the next thing we need to do is get level 12. We also want to make sure that we have at least 9,800 gold whenever we get to level 12. So continue to fight the enemies in this area, but they should be a bit easier now that we have level 11. Whenever we reach 4,000 experience points, we'll hit level 12, and level 12 comes with a lot of nice stat boosts. In addition to that, we'll also get a new spell, the Spell of Outside. Outside costs a lot of magic points. It costs 6, so if you intend to use it, you need to make sure that you do not spend your last 6 magic points whenever you're inside of a dungeon. Just don't do it. You will certainly be happy that you have this spell whenever you get to the bottom of a dungeon and you find some treasures that you like. You don't really want to have to walk all the way back out of there. Once we have level 12, hopefully we have enough money as well. We need 9,800 gold to buy the next upgrade, and we can go and get a wings from that chest at the bottom of the screen. It does take 2 keys to get that chest, So we probably want to make sure that we max out on keys before we leave the town of Rimjolder. Orwick is still up there waiting for his girlfriend. She's not coming, dude. Maybe talk to the tomato lady, she seems pretty cool. But before we leave town, we should buy as many keys as we can, and then we can use the wings to go back to Untitled Castle. Once we have 6 keys, we can leave town over here on the left, or you can actually just use the wings while you're still in town. It won't stop you from using them. Back at the castle, we want to make sure that we save our game. Don't forget to save. We are carrying a ton of money, and this is the Cantlin run. This is one of the most difficult parts of the game, so make sure to save before you do this. If you die, you're going to want to reset. That way we won't lose any of the money that we have. We're going to head up and over towards the area where we spent a lot of time grinding levels. So you know the way. Head down here and cross over this bridge. And once we go over the bridge, we're going to continue south, sort of like we did whenever we went to the mountain cave. We are not going to the mountain cave though. Where we're going, it is much more treacherous and a lot farther away. So just keep heading south. For now, if you see any enemies, you want to fight them, or a lot of them will probably just run away from you. Get over here, Scorpion. Nope, he ran away. Just keep making your way down on the left side. And here's another scorpion that ran away. And a Magidrakey that ran away. Once we get down here across the bridge though, these enemies are much more dangerous. They're not just going to run away, and we should probably run away from them. We need to keep our HP high. A lot of the enemies down here have very high agility, especially the rogue scorpion with 90 and the knight with 78. That's going to make it much easier for them to keep us from running away, and there's a good chance that we'll take some damage trying to escape these battles. So whenever you see these guys run, but if you take some hits, make sure to heal up between fights. The only exception would be if you run into the metal slime. The metal slime is worth the most experience points in the game, and they usually run away from you. There's one right here. Alright, let's try to attack it. It has 255 agility, which is the most in the game, and it often tries to use hurt magic. If we get lucky though, and we get an excellent move, we'll be able to defeat it that way because the excellent move will ignore its agility. And unfortunately, it has 94% resistance to hurt and sleep, so we won't be able to mess with it in that way. We did get a few hits on it, and only has 4 hit points, and we beat it. Alright. 115 experience points. You gotta like that. So if you ever do face a metal slime, I mean, that's what usually happens. They usually run away, or they deal you a little bit of damage and then they run away. But if you face a metal slime, give it a try. You might get lucky and get a whole bunch of experience points. Otherwise, for the enemies in this area, run away. I hope you made sure to get the fairy flute from the town of Cole. It's 4 steps south of that bath, and you'll need to search there to find it. If you don't have it, there's a boss that's coming up here that will definitely destroy you. But with the fairy flute, we will certainly have a chance. Make your way up. You want to skip past that bridge and just keep on heading north. So don't go across the bridge, we're just going to head north. Star wyverns are very dangerous, you don't want to fight them. And werewolves have strength of 86? Yeah, we'll take a lot of damage if we try to fight those guys. Over here, we're very close to the town, and the enemies are even more dangerous. But we need to get ready for the boss. It's going to hit us in the tile right outside of town, so when we go through that little space right there. Alright, this is the Golem. Whenever you use the fairy flute, we'll get a free sleep spell on this guy. Pretty awesome, and it always works. The only problem is, just like any other sleep spell, he has a 33% chance of waking up. So we need to use the fairy's flute, and then hopefully the golem will stay asleep for more than one round. If you need to use herbs while the golem is asleep, that's not a bad way to keep yourself alive. I don't usually recommend healing yourself during battle, but for something that you can reliably put to sleep like this, it's not a terrible idea. And once the golem is defeated, you will not have to fight it again, and you will be able to enter the town of Cantlin. The town of Cantlin has a very expensive inn, and considering that we'll probably use the wings to leave this area, we don't actually need to use it, but if you want to check it out, it is just $100. Over here on the left, this guy will sell us some herbs, so we can pick up some replacements for the ones that we used in the battle with the golem. And there is also a woman here that sells fairy water, and you can even purchase keys, assuming that you have a key already. We also need a key to get into the very expensive weapon shop, and that's where we're going to be able to buy the gear that we want. Right now, the first thing that we want to get is the flame sword, but they also sell another item here, the silver shield, which we will definitely need to buy as soon as possible. The flame sword is the second best weapon in the game, and the very best weapon in the game can only be found in the final dungeon, which is not an area we can just go and walk into. So for now, we want this plus 28 attack. That's going to make a big difference in combat, and we'll definitely be happy we had it whenever we fight some of the bosses that are up ahead. This guy tells us the story of a guy named Wynn who buried something of great value behind his shop in the town of Hawksness. He's talking about the best set of armor in the game, Erdrick's armor, but we can't get that just yet. For now, let's use the wings to return to Untitled Castle, and we did pick up some fairy water, so let's see what that does now. Fairy water will prevent encounters from happening, but only if the enemies have less strength than your defense, and it has to be all of the enemies in the area, so if the most powerful one has more strength than your defense, then you could get encounters from any of the enemies in that set. It's an all or nothing type thing. It also does not work in dungeons. It won't work in the town of Hawksness either. We want to head back towards the town of Remulder. We can use the Radiant spell and you can see how that works. It's pretty nice. We can now see a lot of the area around us whenever we're in the dungeons. Over here we can get on the stairs. And basically what we need to do is go back to that same level grinding area, except now we have a much more powerful weapon, and it should be a lot easier to fight the enemies there. As we make our way back to the level grinding spot, we can see how much more powerful we are. This wolf is only hitting us for 4 damage now, and we hit it for 21, and then 22, taking it out in only 2 rounds of combat? That seems really good. With that kind of efficiency, we don't even need to use the spell of sleep on him anymore. A Magidrakey is going to be a joke. Oh, and we got an excellent move, hitting it for 47. That guy only had at most 15 hit points. Another wolf, and that should not be a problem. 27 damage this time, and only 1 damage to us. Against the enemies on the way to Remyoder, we feel pretty much invincible. We might hit something a little bit more difficult over here. The skeleton's definitely not going to be it. Just one shot at that skeleton, even if it had the maximum amount of hit points. And let's see how we do on a metal scorpion now. Well, okay. 22, one shot. Perfect. And we're back at Remyoder. Here we can use the inn and get ready for some more level grinding. Once we're all rested up, it's time to take on more Goldmen and Wolf Lords. We're going to exit from the right side of town, and we may have to fight some enemies on the way down there, but we're way overpowered for skeletons now. It seems that the skeleton is having trouble damaging us at all. Oh, it got one hit in there. Nice. You should probably just run away there, skeleton. You'll notice on the graphics for the enemies that Nintendo Power's strategy guide for Dragon Warrior had one sentence for each of the enemies in the game, so I wanted to preserve that, and that's what you see next to each enemy's picture. We're just making our way down to the level grinding spot, and you know it's the line of hills that juts out there in the middle. We can use StopSpell to defeat this Warlock, and it should be very easy. The Warlock uses lots of magic, so we should get some free turns if you use the StopSpell magic. Take on this wolf. I'd like to be able to take out one of these wolves in a single shot. It's definitely possible. But it doesn't look like we're going to get an opportunity, because here we are at the level grind spot. Alright, so now we need to get up to level 13, and we also need 14,800 gold to buy the silver shield. We only need 5,500 experience points to get to level 13, so it's very likely that we'll probably get that before we get the 14,800 that we need to get the silver shield. But if we end up fighting a lot of Goldman enemies, well, it's possible that we'd get the money first. In any case, just keep fighting the enemies, and we should make it to level 13 in no time. Another Wolf Lord draws near. We hit him for 24 damage, and then finish him off in a second shot. And with that, we've gained 5,500 experience points, and have reached level 13. With level 13, we get the return magic, and that works exactly the same as the wings, except it's something that we can just do now for 8 magic points. Return is pretty awesome. It essentially means that we can try to level up wherever we want to, and we can always get back to the castle no matter how dire the circumstances get, as long as we save 8 magic points to use this spell. Now that we have level 13, we are also strong enough to try to fight slightly more difficult enemies whenever we're level grinding. So if we head down south here and cross this bridge, we will be able to encounter those enemies. Of course, we've fought metal scorpions many times before. Down here, there will not be any metal scorpions, although it's mostly the same enemies otherwise. This time we've replaced the metal scorpions with wyverns, and wyverns are much more difficult than metal scorpions. They're also the most likely enemy that we will encounter down here, but we'll still run into the gold man enemies, which will help us get that 14,800 gold that we need to get the silver shield. There's the wyvern. This guy is quite dangerous. He only attacks, so we don't have to worry about him using any special magic. And now that we're at level 13, we should be able to handle him. So, just fight these enemies for a while, and whenever you get low on magic points, make sure to save at least 8 magic to use the return, and we will be able to go back to Untitled Castle. This area here is a pretty far walk from the castle, but there is another area we can go to that has the exact same set of monsters, but is much closer by. Whenever we're ready, we can try out that spell of return, and it's more of a convenience than anything. The best thing about the return spell is that it will allow us to do a level grind in an area that's maybe a little bit more remote. Before, we had been staying very close to towns, so that if we got low on health, we can go into an inn without having to worry about bumping into a bunch of enemies on the way back there. But now that we have the spell of return, we don't really need to worry about that anymore. Make your way south, and this is the spot. Here they are, the same enemies we were fighting before. The way that the monsters work in this game is there's only 20 different sets of them. Most sets of monsters have 4 or 5 different possibilities. If there's 5 of them, then the encounter rate will be 20% for all of them. If there's 4, then one of them will be weighted. It'll be an encounter rate of 40%. In this case, that's the wyverns. But you will see these same sets of monsters in different places in the game. They kind of radiate from around the castle. The farther you go from Untitled, the more difficult the monsters will be, and there are different sets for the dungeons, so that's where the 20 different sets come from. This one is a great one for leveling up, and now that we know about it, we can come down here and work our way to level 14, although we'll probably get the 14,800 gold we need first, so that we can go and get the silver shield. Whenever you get the 14,000 gold that we need, make sure to save at the castle before we attempt the walk over to Cantlin. The enemies are much more difficult over there, and if we take a couple bad battles and die, well then we would lose a whole lot of money. And we definitely don't want to do that when we are so close to not needing money anymore. With 14,200 here, I think that we can safely get the last 600 gold by fighting the enemies over in this vicinity, and once we have it, we'll just take off and head over to Cantlin. The silver shield is the best shield in the game, and will provide twice as much defense as the large shield that we have now. It will make a huge impact in the enemies that we're able to fight, and we should be able to battle slightly more difficult enemies once we have it. It also represents a freedom from money. Once we've spent the 14,800 gold on the silver shield, there won't be anything else in the game that we need to spend a large amount of money on, so if we die, we don't have to worry about losing the gold anymore. Sure, we might need to buy a key or maybe some medicinal herbage, but that doesn't cost a lot of money at all in this game, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's nice. Carefully make your way through the hills down here. The hills have a very high encounter rate, so we'll probably have to take a lot of battles. Just run from these guys. They're dangerous, and we don't want to get stuck in a battle with them and end up dying. Head on through. Once you get past these hills here, we can walk in the forest, which has a nice lower encounter rate. It's not that much lower, but it's low enough. The magic wyvern enemies that you see here can be very dangerous. If you end up getting blocked when you run from them, they can cast sleep on you, and they do it about 50% of the time, so it's a very high likelihood that you'll get caught with a sleep spell. And then they may get several rounds of free beats on you. So I'd say that those are the most alarming enemies that you have to face in this area. Although once you cross the bridge over here, the enemies get even more dangerous, so certainly run from anything that you see in this area. We had been pretty lucky so far, but that Star Wyvern definitely put a few hits on us. We can use our heal spells to heal up, and then head down into the town of Cantlin. We just need to be careful in case we hit another battle. We didn't. Nice. I am a little bit concerned about this town. Now that we killed the golem that was guarding it, is the town vulnerable? I mean, can the enemies just come in here and totally destroy the place? We're about to go to another town where that actually happened, so it certainly seems like a valid concern. And there it is. That is our first piece of ultimate equipment. We will not find a better shield in the game than the silver shield. Up here we can purchase some keys. They cost 98 gold, but we already used a key to get into this area, so we might as well pick up a couple more while we're here. Over here we can also buy some fairy water if we'd like to use that. The problem with fairy water is that each bottle takes up an entire slot in your inventory. It would be nice if the fairy water was more like torches or herbs, where you can hold 6 of them in one slot. If you want to use the inn up here, you can, although it's really not necessary. We're about to go back to the castle. Just cast your return spell whenever you're done in Cantlin. We can go and save the game, and then let's take our new shield out for a spin. The next thing that we need to do is get up to level 14, so we're going to go back to the same spot and grind the enemies there. You'll notice that there's a town here, and you may think, why do we always go back to the castle instead of going to that town to heal up? Wouldn't that just be faster? Maybe that town has a very expensive inn? No. That's not so much a town as it is a dungeon. Technically it's a town, it has a lot of the same properties as a town, but it is filled with extremely high-leveled enemies, and that is not a place we want to mess around in right now. At 7,500 experience points, we will gain level 14, and you get a really nice power-up to your attack strength here at +8. No new spells for level 14 though. Now that we have attack power 88, it's time to go on a little adventure. I was talking about that town there near the level grind loop. Well, it's about time that we popped in there and got the most powerful suit of armor in the entire game. I made sure to save my game first. Not terribly worried about losing money or anything, but this is definitely a very dangerous part of the game, so it just seems sensible to save beforehand. And here it is, the town of Hawksness, or what's left of it. In here we will encounter some of the highest level enemies in the game. These are the same ones that you would see right around the town of Cantlin. And up here, we're going to fight a boss, a very difficult boss, called the Axe Knight. Make sure that you heal up to full HP before you fight the Axe Knight. As soon as you step on those trees, the battle will begin. The Axe Knight can cast the spell of sleep on you, but at this level in the game, we don't really have enough time to try to use StopSpell. We just need to attack this guy and hope that he doesn't put us to sleep for more than one turn. If he does, we'll probably die. If you get surprised by the Axe Knight, you should probably try to run away, heal up, and fight him again. But once he's gone, search this area and you'll find the Erdrick's armor. Don't forget to do that. If you step off of that square and then walk back onto it again, you will have to fight the Axe Knight a second time. So make sure that you get the Erdrick's armor. It is the best armor in the entire game. If you die, just reset your game and come on back down here and try it again. Or don't reset if you actually had fought some monsters on the way down here and would like to save those experience points. You just lose some money for dying, so that's not a big deal. This is a green dragon, and I'm fighting this guy right now to prove a point. He's actually the boss that guards the princess, and now that we know that we can beat him, it seems like it's about time we rescued her. Erdrick's armor only gives us +4 defense versus the full plate that we already had, but it's the other things that it does that makes it special. First of all, enemies will no longer be able to use StopSpell on you, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you fight the final boss. You definitely want to be able to heal yourself whenever you're fighting against him, and the first form of the boss will almost always try StopSpell on you. Also, if enemies use Hurt or Healmore spells, it will reduce it by 33%, and it also reduces the damage from those fire attacks that some enemies do. Another thing that you'll notice right away is whenever we walk onto a swamp, we don't take damage anymore. Actually, we restore 1 hit point for every single step that we take, and that is definitely going to save us a lot of healing magic in the future. Over here in the swamp cave, if we head over to the right instead of going down the left side, we can face that green dragon. Now that we have the Erdrick's armor, the green dragon is actually not that dangerous. He hits pretty hard, but we should have no problem finishing him off, especially considering that his fire attack deals less damage now. And that's it. Once the green dragon is defeated, you'll be able to move forward here, and unlike the Axe Knight, the green dragon will not reappear every time you step on that space. That's the only time you'll have to fight him. He's more like the Golem that was guarding Cantlin. You do need a key here to be able to rescue the princess, so make sure that you have one in your inventory before you head this way. And you can tell her no, but she won't take no for an answer. You must pick up the princess whenever you find her. She says, "I'm so happy," and that is like her catchphrase. She says that all the time. Hopefully you have enough magic points to cast the outside spell, and then you can simply cast Return to get back to Untitled Castle. Once you're there, carry the princess up and head down the stairs. The king is going to be very happy to see her. It does need to be noted that you do not need to rescue the princess to beat the game. You can just leave her in that dungeon forever, it doesn't matter. You will get an item for saving her, Gwaelin's Love, and it's not like a super important item. All it really does is whenever you use it from the inventory, it will tell you how many experience points you need to get to the next level, so check it out. Alright, we need 2,269 experience points. Whenever we're not at the castle, it will also tell us exactly how many steps away the castle is. That doesn't sound super useful, especially considering we have the return spell and we're not going to have to walk back to the castle anymore. But it is useful for finding Erdrick's token, which is something we'll need to do. Up here in the back of the castle, we can find another key item, and we can also talk to a few people that have useful clues for us. There's also a key vendor here if you need some keys, so you might as well grab some while you're in here. This soldier says we need high hit points so we can cross those barriers, which are the slanted lines on the ground, but they won't damage us with the Erdrick's armor. That guy had a clue about pushing on a wall of darkness in the town of Garin, which is something that we'll need to do. And this guy is looking for the castle cellar, which is the room that we're about to find. This woman will also tell us about a rainbow bridge, which is something that we had learned a little bit about back in Grimulder Town. To make the rainbow bridge, we're going to need 3 items, and we're going to find the first one down here. Down here in the castle cellar, we meet an old man who says he's been waiting long for us. What does he, like, get up each morning and think, alright, time to go down to the castle cellar. Sure hope the descendant of Erdrick will show up today and I can give him the stones of sunlight. Yeah, NPCs in video games have weird lives. Once you have the stones of sunlight, head down the stairs and we can easily exit the castle by heading south. To make the rainbow bridge with the stones of sunlight, we need to get the Staff of Rain, but before we can get that, we need to find another item that we can trade for it, the Silver Harp. We can find the Silver Harp over in the town of Garin, so be ready for that. We're going to need a key to get in up here, and if this is your last key, that is a problem because we are going to need another key when we get farther into Garin's grave. Make sure that you have at least one more key before you move on. Up here we can grab some party supplies, an herb, some gold, and a torch. And we'll also meet this NPC that seems like she's lost her mind. Yep, we should just leave her alone, I'm thinking. You may wonder what these guys have to say behind this door, but don't waste your key. They just tell you to talk to the other guy. It's totally a beginner trap. You may recall the clue about pushing against the darkness in the town of Garin, and that's what it refers to. If you press against that part of the black wall, you'll emerge on the other side, and this will allow us to access Garin's grave. This is a legit dungeon, so we'll fight some exotic enemies down here. Use your radiant spell so that we can see. Head right from the stairs and then go up and go right again. At this point we should actually head downward, but if you want to see where all of the treasure chests in the game are, well, we'll need to go up first. These treasures are probably not worth getting, but the enemies here aren't very difficult on this floor. They will get a little bit harder when we get deeper down into the dungeon, though. This small amount of gold and an herb wouldn't have been exciting when we were level 7, let alone level 14. So I don't really recommend that you come up here and get those chests. The Poltergeist very often will cast the Hurt spell if you don't defeat it in a single hit. Head down on the right side, and when you get here, this is where you needed to use that key. I said you were going to need a key in here, so if you don't have one, use your outside magic and then go back to the town of Remulder and buy as many keys as you can. Take the stairs here in the lower right corner, and the enemies will be a little bit stronger on this floor, so head across the top and take the stairs in the upper left corner. When you get in here, you want to head over to the left, and here we encounter a Wraith Knight. The Wraith Knight has a 31% chance to resist the sleep spell, but it's still probably worth using because he will use the heal magic whenever he gets low on HP. It's pretty annoying, so it's a lot better to just have him be asleep and you can beat him up and he won't have a chance to use that heal magic. You'll just have to accept the fact that roughly 1 in 3 times you'll cast the sleep magic and it just won't work, and then you'll have to cast it again. As we head down into the left here, we encounter a Dragonlord. The Dragonlord has 94% sleep resistance, so that's not an option here. Luckily, it doesn't have a lot of hit points, so we should be able to take it out in a few hits, even if it heals itself. Now, if we curve around and head up here, we can find something a little bit more interesting, the Cursed Belt. Do not use the Cursed Belt from your inventory. Don't do it. If you do that, you will get cursed and you won't be able to sell the belt. The Cursed Belt is a completely optional item and is actually totally useless, so getting it is just for fun, and I can't actually recommend that you should go down here and pick it up. Once you have it though, head on back the same way that we came, and you want to go to that same staircase that we used to access this floor, and once we go back up it, we're going to head down. So if you wanted to skip the belt, you can just skip going into this staircase and just head downward instead. Over here, we want to take the staircase in the lower left corner. And in here, take the path on the right and then head up. The Drool Magi will try to use StopSpell on you, and StopSpell doesn't work on us. We have Erdrick's armor. Nice try, Drool Magi. Every time it tries to cast StopSpell on you, that's a free turn for us. Very easy enemy to defeat. In this room, we just need to loop over to the right and go up that staircase. There's nowhere else we can really go in here other than back the way we came, so it's fairly straightforward from this point. Take out another Droll Magi, or whatever monster you encounter here, head on up the stairs, and there it is. This is the treasure chest that we covet. First, it looks like a specter wants to fight with us, and he got us with the sleep spell. We have a 50-50 chance of waking up each round of combat, and as soon as we wake up we'll get our turn, but being put to sleep is a dangerous thing. Here it is, the Silver Harp. Once we have the Silver Harp, we can get out of here. There isn't anything else that we actually need in this dungeon. So we'll use our spell of Outside, and that will take us back to Garin. We can simply walk off to the side there, and we can use our return spell to go back to the castle. Now that we have the harp, we can go get the Staff of Rain. To get the staff, we want to head over to the area near the town of Cole. So we're just going to follow the path north of the castle, head over to the right, go across the bridge, you know the way. We're going to head down here, and at this next bridge we're going to head north, and this is where the path gets a little bit different. We want to head to the left through the forest and stay in this little mountain range over here on the side. The Silver Harp seems like a simple MacGuffin that we just have to get to be able to trade for another item, but it does serve a purpose. If you use it from the item menu, it'll actually summon a monster. So that's kinda cool. Unfortunately, it only summons pretty low-level monsters, so it's not something that you would really use to level up. But it is a neat little feature of an item that doesn't have too many other purposes other than trading it for a different item that we need. Down the stairs we'll meet an old man who will take our Silver Harp and give us the Staff of Rain. Thou hast brought the harp. Good. What does this old man want with the Silver Harp? As soon as he plays that thing, he's gonna summon a scorpion and get killed. I don't know why that guy wants it, but it doesn't matter. We have the Staff of Rain now, and that combined with the Stones of Sunlight can make the rainbow drop. But we do need one other component first. So let's just cast the spell of Return and head back to the castle. And before we go in there, we're going to stop in the town of Breckenary. That cursed belt that we found is wasting a slot in our inventory, and we're going to stop over at the tool shop in Breckenary to sell it. Now, you may be curious about what the curse actually does. Whenever you use the cursed belt from your inventory, it does a very dramatic thing where it tells you that it's squeezing your body. And you may think that that will really mess you up, like maybe make the encounters go up. You might think that you'll have bad attacks in combat, or you won't be able to get the excellent move to happen anymore. But in my experience, the only thing that it does is prevent you from going into the castle. I tested it fighting maybe about 100 battles with it on, and I never had any noticeable problems that I can relate to the cursed belt. So if you want to mess around with it, feel free. If you talk to this guy, he will remove the belt, and then you won't be able to sell it, but at least you'll be able to go back into the castle. One last thing that's notable about the town of Breckenary is if we use a key on this building, we can actually find a woman that'll sell us some fairy water. Fairy water is not super important or anything, but it might save us a little bit of time on our next walk, which is taking us back to the town of Cantlin. You may remember on our previous runs to the town of Cantlin, we would run from all of the enemies we encountered. Not anymore. We're a lot more powerful now. We have the Erdrick's armor, we have the silver shield. We are ready to stand our ground and fight against these enemies. So we'll use some fairy water and head on down to the bottom. But we're going to make that Cantlin run, but this time we're actually going to fight the enemies along the way. So head south of the town of Hawksness and go through these hills where we'll almost surely hit some enemy encounters, and our first victim is a Demon Knight. We're hitting this guy for 25 to 28 damage per swing, so it should only take 2 rounds of combat to finish him off if he doesn't dodge. He can only hit us for maybe 18 points max, so we should have no problem defeating any Demon Knights that we encounter as long as we keep our health high before we get into the battle. They don't do anything flashy like use magic spells. Over here we encounter a Wraith Knight, which is a little bit more dangerous. We're going to use the spell of sleep on him, although there is a decent chance that it might fail. The problem with this guy is that he can use heal magic, and so we certainly want to finish him off whenever he's asleep. With the Wraith Knight defeated, we're going to head north, and this time we encountered a regular knight, which despite having higher strength and agility is actually a good bit easier than the Wraith Knight because this guy will occasionally try to use StopSpell on us, and StopSpell doesn't work on us, so that will just give us free rounds of combat. As we head up here, we will encounter some slightly more dangerous enemies. The werewolf is extremely dangerous. It's weird, the Nintendo Power Guide says he may not stay asleep. Yeah, good advice, Nintendo Power Guide. Any enemy has a 1 in 3 chance of waking up. That's always how it works. Don't actually try to use sleep on him though, he has a 44% chance of resisting it. Just keep fighting and make sure that you have high HP. With the strength of 86, the werewolf actually hits pretty hard, even late into the game. Remember to skip over that first bridge, although we are going to be going down there soon. But as we head over into this area, we could encounter some more dangerous enemies. We got the werewolf, so he is one of the ones that was in the previous set, but there are green dragons and wizards over here, and the wizards can use Healmore magic, which can deal quite a bit of damage, so we need to watch out for them. Make sure your HP is high, just in case. And head on down. Oh, we hit a dragon. Okay. So that's why you make sure to heal between every encounter, just in case you hit an enemy that can actually do you some damage. The green dragon hits us at 20 plus every time it attacks, so that's a reasonable threat. If you come into battle against that guy and you don't have any HP, you could quickly be killed. So you might have to run. If you show up and you have like 35 hit points, get out of there. Although we have the Stones of Sunlight and the Staff of Rain, the guy that makes the rainbow drop will refuse to make it for us unless we can offer up some kind of proof that we are a descendant of the legendary warrior Erdrick. So how are we going to do that? Let's ask around this town and see if anyone knows anything. This guy in this interesting room that you can access by pressing through the wall says that proof of Erdrick can be found by talking to someone in this very town. And then if we go out the bottom and use a key to go through this door, we can talk to this old man, who has a very interesting clue. First he wants to wish us well, but then he says that we need to search 70 leagues to the south and 40 to the east of Untitled Castle. Now when he says leagues, he doesn't mean like depth underneath the water. No, he's talking about steps. So how are we going to figure out where exactly 70 steps south and 40 steps east is? We're not actually going to count or anything. That's why we have Gwaelin's Love. It will act as a compass for us and tell us exactly where we need to be to find that token of Erdrick. Now, of course, talking to that old man is completely optional. The token is always in the exact same place, so if you know where to look, you don't even need Gwaelin's love, and that's why it's possible to beat the game without ever rescuing her. Of course, it would be possible to figure out exactly where 70 steps south and 40 steps east would be if you had a map of the game as well. So while the Gwaelin's love is nice to have, it's simply not necessary. Do you remember this bridge south of Cantlin that we've never crossed before? Well, that's the area that we need to go to, and there are some nasty monsters down here. This werewolf is giving us a pretty dicey fight. He has an 11% chance to dodge, so okay, we got him. But it was about 1 in 10 there that if he dodged, we probably were dead. So these enemies are not to be messed around with. Make sure that you're always healed up to nearly full hit points after every battle. We should actually just run away from any monsters that we meet out here, including this star wyvern. Once we get away from this guy, we're going to be in a large swamp, and luckily we have Erdrick's armor, so we won't take any damage. If we use Gwaelin's love, we can see where we need to be from the castle. Remember, the clue was 70 north and 40 west. So to get there, we don't really need to use Gwaelin's love. There are very good landmarks that will help you figure it out. First of all, to be on the right line vertically, there's this 1-lane passage here, so this will put you on the right line. You have to walk that way. And then you want to be 2 gray mountains from the right side at the top. So you'll see the gray mountains up there. They turn to hills, and so where it's a hill, you just want to go back 1, 2 mountains, and that is where Erdrick's token will be. So just search right in that spot, and you'll find it. I don't really know how this proves that we're the descendant of Erdrick. I think pretty much anybody could have just found that out in the swamp, and then what? They're gonna say, oh look who I am, I'm the descendant of Erdrick. Yeah, none of this makes a ton of sense. Unless Erdrick is a time traveler, which is possible in this series if you've played Dragon Quest V. In any case, the next area that we need to go to is south of Rimjolder, so head over that way and stay at the inn if you need to restore your health. With the Stones of Sunlight, the Staff of Rain, and Erdrick's token in our possession, we can meet the old man south of Rimjolder town, and he will finally make us the Rainbow Drop, which we can use to create the Rainbow Bridge that will take us over to Castle Charlock, the lair of the Dragonlord. Down those stairs that you can see nestled in between the gray craggy mountains, that's where the old man lives. He's been waiting there his entire life to make us this rainbow drop, and once we give him the components and he makes us this thing, what is this guy gonna do with the rest of his life? He's been waking up every day waiting for someone to come and bring him the components to make a rainbow drop, and to be honest with you, I don't think you can make a second one. I don't think there's another Staff of Rain out there, so this guy's gonna need a new gig. In any case, once we have the rainbow drop, we can finally go to the final castle. That's right, it's time to head to Charlock. Don't get too excited though. The enemies in Charlock Castle are extremely scary. They are the most powerful enemies in the entire game, and at the end of it all is the Dragonlord, who we are definitely not ready to fight yet. Level 14 would only be high enough if you knew the way to manipulate the RNG in this game, which is something that's possible to do, but is beyond the scope of this video. You definitely need at least level 17 before you decide to challenge the Dragonlord. That's when you'll get the spell of Healmore, but I'm going to recommend that we go a bit higher level than that. Then why did we get together all the components to make the rainbow drop now? Well, just because we're not ready to fight the Dragonlord doesn't mean that we shouldn't go check out his castle. Right now we have the game's most powerful shield, the game's most powerful set of armor, and the game's second best weapon. Now I'm going to give you one guess as to where the game's very best weapon is. That's right, it's hidden in Charlock Castle. Although we're not ready to actually fight the enemies there, if we can just sneak in and get the sword, that's going to give us a huge upgrade and will allow us to do level grinds against much more difficult enemies that will yield a lot higher experience points. So it's going to pay off if we can get in there and get out. So make sure to stay at the inn at Remuder. It's time to infiltrate the final castle. The path to the Dragonlord's castle is northeast of Remuder town. You'll want to head to the left of where the swamp cave lets out. Head on up here, and over here you'll find a small beach, and at the end there's a peninsula with a very small strip of water between it and the next piece of land. That's where we want to make our bridge. You'll see it right over here on the left. The enemies are running away from us now. We are very powerful at this point in the game, but the enemies are going to change very quickly when we get across the bridge to the other side here. We hold the rainbow drop up in the air, and the bridge appears. Now the entire game is open to us. There is no area we can't go to. Over here we face a Magi Wyvern. We'll use the StopSpell on it because it has a 50% chance of trying to use sleep magic on us, so there's a good chance that we'll get a free turn. Sometimes it just doesn't do it though, and I often think that sleep magic might just be better than StopSpell a lot of the times. That's why we used it pretty often against those Wraith enemies, even though using StopSpell would also solve the problem of them healing. If you get sleep on an enemy, you have a 66% chance of getting 2 free rounds of combat on it, and you have about a 44% chance of getting 3 free rounds of combat. So if sleep is an option, I think sometimes it's just better than StopSpell, but StopSpell pretty much always works against the Magi Wyverns, so it does make sense to use that against them. Here we're facing another werewolf. Werewolves are still dangerous even when you're very high level, and a lot of times when you try to run from them, they will continue to attack you. We did get away this time, but those are an enemy that you need to be very careful of. The high percent to dodge makes them extra dangerous. Sometimes you just miss attacks and then you take a lot of damage. Well, this is it. This is Charlock Castle. Don't head to the right, there's nothing good over there. You want to make your way to the left and go up this side. Run from whatever enemies you meet here. You need to run from pretty much everything. We need to save as much HP as possible, and we don't have enough power to really go toe-to-toe with a lot of these enemies for more than a few rounds. Don't go down those stairs or through that door. Instead, we need to go behind the Dragonlord's throne. We heard a clue earlier that there was something hidden back there, and if we search, we'll find a secret staircase, and that will take us deeper into the castle. It's dark down here, so use your radiant spell so that we can see. The path is fairly straightforward here. It'll wind over to the right and then back up to the left, then it will head downwards. In here, we will be attacked by many dangerous enemies, and this one got the jump on us, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, we'll be able to walk a bit and restore that health without using a heal spell. And we got attacked by an Axe Knight, and were put to sleep. Oof, brutal. Yeah, this can get pretty bad. You need to use healing spells just to keep your HP high, and if you do die trying this, just try it again. Eventually, you'll have a little bit of luck and you'll make it. Head over to the left here, another Axe Knight, and another block. This is not good. Run! Alright, we can head down and then around to the right, and another enemy encounter. Alright, we got away with that one. Head all the way to the right and use the stairs. Now we're even deeper into the castle, and this is where it gets a bit more maze-like. Head around the maze and go up to the left. The wizards are one of the more dangerous enemies you can face here because they can use hurt more magic against you, but the Axe Knights are most definitely the most dangerous. These guys hit very hard and could potentially get you with sleep magic, which could put you out for a number of turns and you could take a ton of damage. Make sure to keep your health high and hopefully you'll get a bit lucky and you won't run into too many of those. Down here the enemies are even more dangerous, so you want to hug the top wall and then go all the way to the left and down. You'll find a downward heading staircase here and that's where you want to go. And in this room we want to take the stairway which is in towards the lower right corner. That's not exactly where it is. That's the staircase right there, the one that you can see on the screen now. That's the one that we need to go to, and it will take us up. This is not the way that you would go to fight the Dragonlord. Instead, you would go to the left here, but to find Erdrick's sword, going up that staircase is key. From here, it's actually pretty easy to find. We just need to escape these enemies. So keep yourself healed up. There aren't too many places where you can get lost now, so take these stairs up, and then take the next set of stairs that you see. There is one little turn here that you need to do, so try to escape this wizard. Not good, we got attacked by him before we were ready. Another one. Alright, run. So head here, and then you want to go left at that juncture. So that's one of the only places where you can mess it up. And down at the bottom here, take these stairs. And this is it. Erdrick's sword. The best weapon in the game. Plus 40 attack. Our previous weapon only had plus 28. This thing is way better. It will be very difficult to beat the Dragonlord without this thing. Once you have it, you can use your outside magic, and then you can cast Return to go back to the castle. It's time to grind levels again. Now that we have Erdrick's sword, we can level grind against some much more difficult monsters, and the area that we want to go to is a little bit of a hike from here, so we can stop over in the town of Breckenary and purchase some fairy water to make the going go a little bit faster. Just pop in and say hi to the fairy water lady. What's up, girl? 38 gold all day, no problem. The fairy water is of course optional, but it might speed this up just a bit. And I like to use it when I'm a little bit farther away from the castle. If I do take a battle with a slime, they'll just probably run away anyway. So right about here, throw on that fairy water, and we will smell so bad that the enemies will not want to mess with us. Head on over. We're going to head towards the area south of the town of Hawksness, where we found the Erdrick's armor. In that area, we can encounter the metal slimes, and they are worth the most experience in the entire game. In addition to that, there's some other good enemies that we can fight, but we will have some opportunities to get a lot of experience quickly by fighting some metal slimes. So that's going to be our new level grind spot. As we head south, we'll encounter some familiar enemies like this Wolflord, and we can see exactly how powerful Erdrick's sword is. We just hit that guy for 52. This rogue scorpion has agility of 90, yet we're hitting it for around 20 points each attack. That's pretty good. These enemies are much too easy to be using as a level grind now, although a Demon Knight is a real one. This guy can dodge a good bit, so that's really the danger in fighting this guy. We just hit him with another excellent attack for 80 points, so it wasn't much of a challenge when that happens. Over here we can fight a Wyvern. You remember these guys, we fought a good bit of them before. Now we're hitting it for 36, which is enough to potentially kill it in a single swing, depending on how many HP it had. Down here, we will finally make it to the actual level grind spot. The Demon Knights don't have a ton of HP, but they can dodge, so you do have to be careful about that. And we're hoping to encounter some metal slimes, although these knights aren't bad. They're actually very easy. They don't deal a lot of damage to us and can be quickly defeated. So just keep walking back and forth here, take whatever battles come your way. If you do get the metal slime gives more experience points than the highest monster in the entire game, even more than a red dragon. It's kinda hard to kill though because they often just run away. So that's unfortunate, and they have high resistance to all spells, so you just kinda need to get lucky against them. Here we face another Demon Knight. The Demon Knights will give us 37 experience points each time we defeat one, and that's the second highest after the metal slimes in this area, so we kinda do want to fight a lot of Demon Knights. We can use StopSpell on the Magi Wyvern, and then whenever it tries to cast Sleep on us, which it will do frequently, we'll get a free round of combat against it. Pretty good. These guys are pretty easy. It has a decent amount of sleep resistance, but almost no stop spell resistance, so it seems fairly reliable to use the stop spell against that guy because he does use sleep so frequently. It's about 50% of the time. Against the Wraith Knight, I like to roll the dice with sleep. He has a decently high sleep resistance, but if you do get him, you can often take him out before he wakes up. Remember, you have a 44% chance to go 3 rounds in combat after casting Sleep, and you have a 67-ish% chance to at least get 2 rounds. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's only 2 magic points, so when we're grinding up levels, a lot of times it is worth a try. And whenever you reach 10,000 experience points, we will finally get level 15. Level 15 has a lot of increases, and we learn a new spell. Usually would be much more excited about the spell that we get, but in this case it's the stats. 108 attack power is going to make it much easier for us to fight more dangerous enemies, so we can return to Castle Tantegel. I'm not going to say that we'll never use the Repel spell, but it's just not super exciting. It does the exact same thing as Fairy Water, which is an effect that we already had access to. It only costs 38 gold. You get to level 15 and you get a new magic spell. You expect to get something a little bit more awesome than Fairy Water. Maybe it could have been an improvement over Fairy Water and worked for 200 steps instead of just 128. I mean, seriously, who cares if the player doesn't have to fight slimes and ghosts? None of that is very relevant. But in any case, once you have level 15, we're going to head towards the town of Cantlin. That is where we're going to do our new level grind. These are some of the most vicious monsters in the entire game, and are actually the most dangerous ones that you can fight outside of dungeons or the town of Hawksness. So these are the highest level overworld enemies, and you're going to encounter them right outside the town of Cantlin. Conveniently, if we get low on health, we can just go into Cantlin and fill up by using the inn there. It costs 100 gold, and 100 gold might have been a lot back at level 1. But now that we're level 15, 100 gold is pretty much nothing. That werewolf we got an excellent move on. So we can't expect that to happen every time. Let's take a look at a green dragon. We're hitting this guy for around 30 points of damage every time, which is good enough to take it out in 2 rounds of combat. That guy's worth 45 experience points, so that is quite awesome. The werewolf is worth 40 experience points, and here's a more realistic fight with the werewolf. We were still able to take it out quickly, even though we didn't get the excellent move this time. Star Wyverns are your most common enemy here and probably the most dangerous. Just use StopSpell on this guy, and he won't be able to use Healmore whenever he gets low on health. This is something that he does about 75% of the time, so there's a good chance that if we use the StopSpell, we'll actually get a chance to get a free round of combat. Star Wyverns don't always cast Healmore, but whenever they do, you'll be happy that you used the StopSpell. Green dragons are easy. They only take 2 or 3 rounds of combat to kill. And whenever this guy's finished off, you want to make sure that you're healing up between battles. You will get some hit points back from walking around, and if you're worried about it, you could actually walk in the grass area where you will take fewer encounters. But in the swamp or the forest, we will take a slightly higher amount of encounters, and we're trying to level up, so that's what we're doing right now. We'll see if our StopSpell plan works out this time with the Star Wyvern, and attack it again. This time he did it, he did the Healmore. So we got a free round of combat. Sleep magic is another good way to deal with enemies that try to heal themselves, but Star Wyverns actually have 50% resistance to sleep, so in this case I prefer to use StopSpell. Wizards have a high resistance to everything, so we just need to attack them. Whenever the wizard attacks, it's not that big of a deal, but whenever it uses Hurtmore magic, it doesn't matter how high level we are, that's always going to take off a good chunk of hit points. Whenever we finally reach 13,000 experience points, we will get level 16. Level 16 doesn't come with any new magic spells, but it does come with an additional 21 MP. Whoa, that's enough to cast 5 more heal spells, or 10 more of most other magic spells. So it's certainly a big deal. We still need to get level 17 by doing this same grind, but to get to level 17 we only need 16,000 experience points, so that's only 3,000 more, and that's the exact same amount that we needed to get from level 15 to level 16, although this time we're more powerful, so it will actually go a little bit faster. Level 17 is one of the easier levels to get. It wasn't very long ago that we could only fight slimes, and now we can dispatch green dragons with ease. The leveling up in this game feels really good. As soon as we get 16,000 experience points, we will hit level 17, and level 17 is a big one. That is when we get the spell of Healmore. Healmore is probably the best spell in the game. It costs a ton of magic points, 10, but for 6 more magic points than what you get from the heal magic, you get up to 10 times more healing. The regular heal spell only heals 10 to 17 points of health, while Healmore heals 85 to 100. With that kind of healing, we can now effectively use a heal spell in battle. Getting back 85 to 100 points will certainly make a difference, even against the most dangerous enemies in the game. So this is something nice to have, and it's also just a more efficient way to heal yourself. If you can wait until you get a little bit lower, Healmore will certainly be more effective than casting 3 rounds of heal, which might end up only giving you 30 health back. And that wouldn't be very good. The minimum you would get from Healmore is 85. At level 17 with the Healmore magic, we can start thinking about taking on the Dragonlord, but at this point, Charlock runs are still probably going to end in tears. We need to find a new level grind spot, and that spot is going to be in the town of Hawksness. Do you remember how whenever we found Erdrick's armor, I told you not to leave that space without searching it, because if you do, every time you step on that one square, you will always meet an Axe Knight? Well, we can exploit that for a level grind strategy. The Axe Knights give you 54 experience points, which is more than any other enemy you can fight in the overworld except for metal slimes, and we know that metal slimes aren't the most reliable things to fight to get experience points. They usually just escape. So make your way through this wretched ghost town and try to find the spot where we picked up the Erdrick's armor. It's across this bottom part and then up a little bit. The werewolves aren't hitting that hard anymore. They're still pretty powerful, but they're not quite as worrisome as they were previously. We don't want 40 experience points though, we want 54. And those trees over there, that's the spot. We didn't need a full Healmore, so I just used a quick heal. And when we fight this guy, we want to use StopSpell. He does have a 19% resistance to StopSpell, but the big danger against this guy is that he catches you with sleep magic, and we can prevent that now by using StopSpell. When we were fighting him as a boss, well, we couldn't really afford to take the time to try to use StopSpell on him. Then it would only work if he did actually cast the sleep. But here we can be a little bit more risk averse. We can use the StopSpell magic every time we fight this guy, and then we don't have to worry about getting hit by the sleep magic. And whenever he does it, we'll be very happy. We'll hit 19,000 experience points, so we only needed 3,000 again to get to level 18. Level 18 against Axe Knights is very easy. Of course, we didn't gain another magic spell this time. There's only one more in the game, so we need to continue to grind levels here until we reach 22,000 experience points. Just be smart against these Axe Knights, use StopSpell to prevent their sleep attack, which can deal a ton of damage, and it won't be long until you get that 22,000 experience points and reach level 19. Whenever we get level 19, we also get the game's final magic spell, Healmore. Healmore is very awesome. It costs 5 magic, which is a lot for a combat spell, so it's not something we're going to be able to use when we're out adventuring and trying to conserve magic points, but it's very good for fighting these Axe Knights here in Hawksness, where we can use it to gain levels even faster. The Axe Knights only have 70 hit points max, so if the first shot of Healmore doesn't kill him, our follow-up standard attack definitely will. The worst thing that can actually happen is that the Healmore doesn't take out the Axe Knight in a single shot, and then he gets us with sleep magic, but as long as we don't stay asleep for like 6 rounds of combat, we should be okay. Once we wake up, we'll be able to finish this guy off, and with 26,000 experience points, we will finally reach level 20. Level 20 gives us an excellent stat increase, 5 more power, and also 12 more magic points, which will give us an additional chance to cast Healmore, and the more times we can cast Healmore, the better our chances of success against the final boss. And that's where we're headed now. It's time to go back to Charlock Castle, and this time we're not going to run away from the enemies. We're going to stand our ground and take down the Dragonlord. But wait, one more thing before we go to the final castle. Remember that mountain cave that we went to earlier in the game that we only visited briefly? Well, the mountain cave was a little bit too difficult for us at the time. We were very low level and we didn't have very good equipment. Now that we have level 20 and the best equipment in the game, the mountain cave is going to be a lot different. So let's stop in there real quick. There is a unique item we can only find in this cave, and I do want to be able to show that to you before we go to the final castle. So, real quick, the mountain cave. The enemies here at the beginning of the mountain cave are a bit of a joke. Oh no, not a scorpion. All we need to do though is go up to the upper left corner and then head across the top to the right. Any enemies that we encounter here will be able to defeat in a single shot, and if you want to get an herb, we can pick up this treasure chest, but that's not really the main attraction here. Instead, you want to go down this middle path and take the stairs over on the left. Inside here, you may recall this is where you can find the fighter's ring. We should have no problem fighting the enemies here either. If you go up and then head over to the left, that is where the fighter's ring is. So if you didn't come here before because you weren't using that money-making trick, that's where you can pick up that useless item. But you'll notice that any of the monsters that you fight here are easily dispatched in a single attack. It's not really that big of a deal to head over here and grab whatever you want. There's also a torch there. We don't actually need this fighter's ring, so we're not going to pick it up. There is a limit to how many slots you can have in your inventory, and that limit is 10. We do want to pick up the unique item that we can find here, Death's Necklace. We don't really need a second fighter ring for anything. We didn't actually need the first one. Our Radiant spell is starting to wear off. These poltergeists will try to cast hurt magic on you, which actually can deal you some damage, unlike most of these monsters that will be able to attack and barely can scratch you. So head on over and up the left side, and this necklace will not always be there. Sometimes it will just be a bunch of money, but this is another cursed item, so do not use it from the item menu. It's essentially the same as the cursed belt. If you equip it, you won't be able to go into the castle. But the big difference here is it's worth 1,200 gold pieces if you sell it. Unfortunately, at this point in the game, money isn't very useful to us, and I couldn't think of a way to abuse this earlier in the game when money would matter, especially since you can't reliably find the death necklace in that treasure chest. But it is the last unique item that we can find in the game. No more fake outs though. Once we sell this death necklace to the guy at the tool shop, it's time to go on and face the Dragonlord. I don't know what this guy is gonna do with the death necklace. You know it's cursed, right? Yeah, okay, 1,200 gold if you say so, buddy. We do need to stop at this store anyway. Before we go to the Dragonlord's castle, we should max out on herbs. It may seem strange that we want herbs this late in the game when we have the Healmore spell, but we actually want to try to conserve as many magic points as we can until we get to the final boss. The more magic points we have when we get to the Dragonlord, the greater our chances of success will be. So purchase the legal limit of medicinal herbs, and then it's time to go fill up at the castle and head on over to Charlock. The first thing that I like to do before we get started on this Charlock run is to go down here to the guy that restores our magic points and cast the Repel spell when we're standing right in front of him. Then we can talk to him and he'll restore our magic, so it's like we get a free use of the Repel magic. Nice. Every magic point is going to matter here, so we don't want to waste any on stupid Repel spells. And this is a nice way to get a free one, so that we can just take the shortcuts through all of this terrain. So take the shortest possible path. It doesn't matter what kind of terrain you walk on, you're not going to meet any monsters with Repel active. Head on over to the right, and we need to go down to the swamp cave. The swamp cave will take us to the other side near the town of Remulder, and that is where the bridge is that takes us over to Charlock Castle. Red slimes are a joke at this point in the game. If you encounter any after your Repel wears off, give them a nice taste of Erdrick's sword. Over here, these enemies are a little bit more powerful, but still don't pose a threat. They should not damage you any more than you will restore just by walking to the next battle. Head on through. In here, we can use the torch so that we can see and we don't have to use our radiant spell. Although at this point in the game, you may be able to do it without using a torch at all. All you really need to do is just walk straight down, and when you hear the sound of hitting the wall, you just move right down, down, and like left a little bit. And it's not that hard to find your way over. These enemies are very easy to defeat. So just attack anything you see, and here's the end. Head due west when you come out of the cave, and now we're going to see the true power of level 20. 34 damage on a wolf is enough to kill any wolf in a single shot, and that means that the other enemies here don't have much of a chance. 59 on a scorpion, we only needed to deal 20 to kill it. These enemies should be running away, but if they want to get cleaved, well then I guess that's their business. Keep heading to the west, and whenever we cross this bridge, we'll encounter slightly more dangerous enemies, but they're still not that tough. This is actually the worst situation with the Magic Wyvern. He casts sleep on us, and then we stay to sleep for a couple rounds, but he can only deal 1 and 2 points of damage. Oh no. Not 9 damage. Ugh. Oh no, I can't handle this Magic Wyvern. Yeah, this guy's pretty easy. It should only take about 2 attacks to finish those off. And they're one of the harder enemies that you may encounter down here. Here's a Demon Knight. The danger of a Demon Knight, of course, is that it has a high rate of dodging. But if you just fight it, you should have no problem defeating it. You'll notice that we're trying not to use our healing magic, and instead we're relying on Erdrick's armor to restore our HP between battles. If it does get pretty bad and you get below 75 HP, use one of those medicinal herbs that we bought, and if you ever end up in such a bad fight that you get below 40 HP, then it's time to cast Healmore, but hopefully we won't have to do that at this point. The enemies are only going to get harder when we get deeper into the castle, so for now, we should be able to fend off these ones with ease. Once this werewolf is defeated, make your way around the bottom and head up through the desert. Of course, deserts have the highest encounter rate, and we're going to meet some monsters there. Another werewolf. That one was easily defeated. And yet another werewolf. This one only hit us for 3 damage. You're not going to win any high school basketball championships like that, Michael J. Fox. Head on up, and here's another werewolf. Yeah, these guys just aren't that dangerous. We're already getting very close to our maximum health again. Keep walking around and go through the swamp. We'll hit another werewolf. I mean, this is just something that can happen. There's an equal chance to hit any of these 5 enemies. But the werewolves want a piece, and, well, sorry not sorry, they're not that hard to defeat. Inside the castle, we want to head over to the left, just like we did when we got Erdrick's sword. Head past that locked door. Thankfully, we don't need to use any keys to get through this castle. An Axe Knight draws near. Normally, we would use some magic like Healmore or maybe the StopSpell on this guy. But at this point in the game, we are trying to conserve as many magic points as possible, so we'll just need to rely on our basic attacks. The green dragon is not a major threat, just attack it and move on. We're trying to get to that secret staircase up behind the Dragonlord's throne. Wizards are very dangerous at any level because the Healmore magic can deal us a lot of damage, and it's difficult to kill them in a single attack. Once you go down the stairs, I like to use Radiant here so that we can see a little bit better, but if you're confident, you can certainly use a torch down here and save 3 magic points. As you make your way across the top and then down the left side, another Axe Knight dares to fight us. Axe Knights should have a healthy fear of us at this point. We've killed so many of these things that they should be telling their children about the legend of Kylo, the Butcher. If you don't put your toys away, kids, Kylo will come and he'll hit you with his Healmore magic spell, which will explode your face. Just like what happened to your Uncle Bob. Yeah, Axe Knights should not mess around with us anymore. And neither should wizards, really. Take out any enemies that are in your way. You want to make your way down to the bottom left corner, and then you're going to cut across to the right. That's where we'll find the stairway that will take us down to the next level. So head on down and then over to the right. There's the stairs. The enemies get even more difficult as we get down to this level of the castle. Here we can encounter a blue dragon, and they are more likely to appear. They have a 40% encounter rate. The dragons aren't that tough. Whenever they use their fire attack, it doesn't deal very much damage, so you should be able to defeat them in a few rounds of combat. Head around this circle and up to the top where we'll find another staircase. Another Axe Knight. Come on, Axe Knights. These guys are not very difficult. We know what to do here. Head down the staircase, and we want to start moving to the left here and stay across the top. So get to the top wall and head over to the left, and then head down the left side where we will find another staircase. Here's a blue dragon. It's breathing fire. Simple 12 damage, no big deal. And we took him out in 2 attacks. Pretty good. Head on down the stairs. In this room, we actually need to do something a little bit different than what we did when we found Erdrick's sword. The stairway that you'll see right below us here after we defeat the blue dragon. So just eliminate this fiend and you'll see what I'm talking about. Head around the wall and go down them. Down here we can't get lost, it's very straightforward, but the enemies are much more dangerous. We're just going to go all the way down, all the way to the left, and then all the way up. When we go through the next set of stairs, we're just going to head all the way to the right. Let's see what we got. A stone man. If you have to fight a stone man, you want to use sleep magic on it. We're trying not to use a lot of magic, but the enemies down here are very dangerous, and we may need to use a little bit of magic to get through them. Sleep only takes 2 MP, so that's probably worth it to save a lot of damage points. You may need to use it twice to get through the battle though. Hopefully you'll be able to get at least 2 or 3 attacks on your first sleep spell, and if you do, you should have no problem defeating the Stone Man. Once you go down this stairway, we are in the final area. If you have a key, you can come up here and rob the Dragonlord's treasure trove, but he doesn't actually have any good stuff. If you still have 6 herbs, you would want to use one before taking the chests, because one of them is an herb, but the other ones are all pretty useless. The herb is the only good one. 625 gold, don't need it. There's the herb. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, wings, great, that'll be nice. And a cursed belt, neat. And this one is empty. So this is a big waste of time. I would not come up to these treasures. You may actually take a number of fights going up there, and this is where the most dangerous enemies in the entire game are, so you need to minimize the number of fights that you take in this area. I would avoid the Dragonlord's treasury. Wizards are by far the easiest enemy that we may have to fight down here. Here's another stone man, which will cost us some magic points, but that's better than us taking a ton of damage. So we'll fight through him. He stayed asleep, this is good. Come on, alright, he woke up. I think we can just finish him off at this point. We did it, okay. So make your way up the left side and then cut over to the right. And here is an armored knight. This is one of the most dangerous enemies in the game, and the strategy for defeating this guy is to attack it once and then use Healmore. If you use Healmore first, it'll heal itself and cast Healmore, but if you attack it first, whenever you use the Healmore magic, it'll die. Healmore takes 5 magic points to use, but the armored knights are extremely dangerous, and they are the most likely enemy that you'll find here. So you just need to suck it up a little bit and use some MP. Our goal is to try to have 70 or more magic points when we get to the Dragonlord, and the more the merrier after that. Ideally would have at least 90. You don't want to try running from these enemies down here. A lot of them will block you and you'll just take a bunch of unnecessary damage. And here is the most powerful regular enemy in the game, the Red Dragon. Red Dragons have 120 strength and they can cast sleep magic, making them very dangerous. It's pretty important that we keep our health up here, so we're going to use those herbs first. And if you need to use a little bit of healing magic, then now may be the time for that. We're almost there. We're so close. And this is it. We made it to the Dragonlord. Eat any herbs that you need at this point to fill up to max health, and then talk to him. It's time to engage the final battle. He offers us the choice to join him instead of fighting him. No. We didn't get level 20 to join you, Dragonlord. We got level 20 so that we can destroy you, and that's what we're going to do. Healmore is actually a bad attack for the first form of the boss here. We're hoping that he does StopSpell, because that actually doesn't work against our Erdrick's armor, and will give us a free round of combat. Once the first form is destroyed, here is the real battle. The Dragonlord's Fire Breath attack is much more powerful than any other Fire Breath attack in the game, dealing over 40 points of damage each time. Very dangerous. Anytime that your HP drops below 50 health, that is your cue to use Healmore. Right now we have 36, so we need to cast Healmore, and Healmore is the only spell that we're going to use here. He has resistances of 94% against any of our offensive magic. The Dragonlord has exactly 130 hit points, and every time we cast the Healmore spell, we should earn ourselves about 2 rounds of combat. We deal 11 to 15 damage every time we attack, so worst case scenario, we're going to need to hit this guy 12 times. So if we can cast Healmore 6 times, we should be able to win. Now, I recommend having at least 70 magic points just in case something goes tragically wrong, especially with the first form of the boss. But if we have that much magic, we should expect to win here. Even with knowing the math, this takes a long time to do, and sometimes it seems like the Dragonlord might have infinite hit points and will never win. But that is simply not the case. Just continue to use your Healmore magic anytime that your hit points dip below 50, and attack at any other time. And sooner or later, this guy will go down. We got this. Come on. Oof, Fire Breath attack. Alright. And that's it. We've done it. We defeated the Dragonlord and beat Dragon Warrior. But before we go on to the cheesy ending, what happens if we join the Dragonlord? If you remember, before we fought the Dragonlord, he gave us an offer to join him, and if we say yes, he'll say, "Really?" And then he says we get half of the world, which seems pretty cool, except at this point, the screen goes red and we have to reset. So yeah, it's not good. One last thing before we go, you may have been wondering what the highest level in the game looks like. If you want to get level 21, I recommend doing the Axe Knight grind down in the town of Hawksness, although you may end up fighting an occasional other enemy as well. You need to get 30,000 experience points to reach level 21, and the increases you get here are not that large. But the game doesn't stop at level 21. Oh no, it definitely doesn't. If you want to continue grinding levels, you can get level 22, level 23, level 24, level 25, level 26. After level 26, you may want to start leveling up with the enemies in the Dragonlord's castle, and you may have noticed that you'll stop gaining gold when you get 65,535, and that is also the highest amount of experience points you can have, which will bring you to the final level, level 30. If you have level 30 and you go and talk to the king, he'll have an interesting message for you. At first he says he's greatly pleased that we have returned, but in the same breath he says, "You're so powerful, why haven't you defeated the Dragonlord yet?" Yeah, that's probably a fair point, King. We could have beaten the Dragonlord by now. Let's see what level 30 looks like against the most dangerous standard enemy in the game, the Red Dragon. Yeah, it doesn't take much to kill those enemies now. The game is actually quite easy at this point. We can use some herbs to refill our health, or we can just use magic. We're going to be fine. We're level 30. The Dragonlord offers us a chance to join him. I don't think so. No, we're level 30, you should be running away. In a desperate attempt, he tries the spell of StopSpell. That's not gonna work, buddy. He tries it again, but the spell will not work. And that's it. In 2 rounds, the Dragonlord is defeated. Let's see how we do against the true Dragonlord. Our first attack dealt 32 damage. At that rate, this guy is not going to last very long. He still hits us pretty hard, even at level 30. But remember, if we ever get down to below 50 HP, we can just use Healmore. But we probably won't need to. We're just crushing this guy. And that's it. We've found the Ball of Light, and we've beaten Dragon Warrior. When we emerge from the castle, they give us back all of our magic points, so we can simply cast the spell of Return to get back to Tantegel. When we get back to the castle, everyone will say that we need to talk to the king, so that is what we're going to do. Head straight on up where we will see him standing outside. And that's it. The legends have proven true. We are indeed in the line of Erdrick. But were we really? Maybe we just claimed we were Erdrick's descendants so that people would help us out. In any case, we defeated the Dragonlord, no matter whose descendant we were. And that's it. All we can do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. Well, I hope that this video was able to help you finally complete Dragon Warrior and put an end to the Dragonlord's evil machinations. If it did, make sure to give it a like and make sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more fantastic kingdoms for us to save, and that's why we'll be back again next week. with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.